Hey, welcome to the live stream, everybody. I am your host, as always, Jack Chambers. You probably know me already. If you have joined us on one of these live streams before, you'll also know my delightful co-hosts, Mr. Matthew Stogden.
Hello.
And Mr. Tim Matum.
Evening all.
And our very first guest on these live streams. Everyone, please welcome Rich Wiltshire from Unequal Sequel.
Hello.
Hey, Rich.
Hi.
You're trying to work out, is it reflected?
Well, my logic is if I clap, it's going to talk over the level of the sound will go over Rich. It's like, what a douche move.
You may already know Rich, some listeners, because both Matthew and Tim have been on his wonderful film podcast, along with your co-host Dave. You talk about, it's worst sequel, best sequel, dream sequel, right?
That's right, yeah.
Awesome, yeah. Not that you're stepping on any of our toes or anything. It's fine, mate. It's no.
Hey,
we only brought you here to sacrifice you in front of everybody.
So, to be completely honest, Dave came up with a whole concept.
I
just wrapped up and talked nonsense. Yeah, it's fine. He's not here.
Excellent. We got people who have listened to Unequal. Our good friend Xenos, who is one of our patrons, and they were good episodes too. There you go. Thank you, Xenos. I'm glad people are. Hello, Mr. Rich, he says as well. Welcome to the show. Tim saying hello. Canis is waving to us. Hello, Canis. Welcome to the live stream, everybody. We're going to be talking about some interesting stuff later on. I think we're going to be some controversial opinions, talking about Kevin Smith's filmography later on. But before we get into all of that, we always have a little catch-up and a chat and stuff like that. And since you're new, Rich, we'll start off with you. How are you? What have you been up to recently? How's Unequal Sequel going? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm good. What have I been up to recently? Lots of things. And Unequal Sequel's going really well. We're just coming to the end of our first series, so we do them in 12 episode series with a little half-hour extra on a Friday where we do different bits and bobs.
You're stealing our bits, man. You're stealing
sorry. I'm so sorry. We initially planned to do...
A good idea is a good idea. I can't blame you.
Yeah. We planned to do 8 episodes, and then we just didn't want to cut any more guests out, so we ended up doing 12. Oh, man.
Well, we just got to take from this is that we've created a very successful model, you know.
There we go, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've been really lucky. We've got
podcasts from now on, exactly.
Yeah. We've had some really, really good guests on, as well as like Matt and Tim, and hopefully Jack will get you on series 2. But we've had people like Sean Walsh, and we've had people like Helen O'Hara, and we've been really lucky with our guests. They've all been really brilliant. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the last one. So the last episode in the series, I booked the guest for the first time.
Oh, nice.
Dave normally does all of the work. So literally, he edits the pod, he does all the social media, he books all the guests, he gets everything sorted, and I just rock up on the day and talk rubbish about films. But this time, I booked the guest. So I'm really nervous about how episode 12 is going to go down.
I love the idea that it's like, who have you got? It's like Mark Kermode. Oh my God, really? And then it's on the day you shave off your beard and go, hello, it's me, Mark Kermode. Like, God damn it, Rich. God damn you.
Just do the rockabilly quiff thing and you'll be fine. Yeah. Excellent. It was actually the Sean Walsh episode that caught my attention and how I first found you guys. And I was kind of like, okay, this podcast is great. They're so similar to us in the kind of approach and the kind of conversation. You guys are clearly, really good friends. You've got really good chemistry there as well. And I thought kindred spirits in podcasting, basically. And I was like, we need to work with these guys straight away. And I'm glad we've had the chance. And I'm, like I said, look forward to having Dave on as well. Maybe I'll join the show in season 2 as well. Continuing relationships, basically, we want to help promote each other on an ongoing basis, not just one-offs. Exactly. Synergy, Matthew. Synergy.
So Dave would have been here today. We would have both come on, I think. But unfortunately, he's seeing Frozen the musical in London. So and he couldn't get out of it. I think his wife would have killed him if it had been cancelled. Yeah. I think they've been waiting for a long time.
Are you allowed to sing along in Frozen the musical? Because we talked about this. We have a... we might have to talk about this later on in the upcoming episode where we talk about some musicals, and we were talking about how you get the karaoke versions in cinemas and stuff, and that became a huge thing because of Frozen. Are you allowed to sing along in a Frozen musical? Because I feel like it's quite a taboo thing to do in a theatre, but it's Frozen, so
I don't know. Maybe I don't see why you wouldn't.
I went to see Aladdin in the Prince Edward in London, and it was great. Really enjoyed it. Very, very positive. However, I could hear some people singing. I'm like, listen, here, you piece of shit. I paid £110 for these seats. You're the professional, not you. I don't want your home karaoke bullshit of Prince Ali. I was like, yeah, shut the fuck up. But thank you. Loud and broad and wonderful and really good show. So Frozen is a very different thing because I think people will say like, oh, I don't know this track. Oh, I know this one. I know this one. I can't stop myself from singing this one.
And especially if you've got a lot of kids in the audience, like how do you stop that? They don't have the same sense of social decorum that we do, and you're not going to stop them from singing along, are you? You just got to hope the sound system's good enough to drown out the children.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I like the idea that there's just an angry Matt sat at the front, like, shut up, children. This very tall, bald man just shouting at all the kids.
Do not interrupt the performance, child. Scar someone for life.
I think there's a John Mulaney bit where he talks about how his dad went to see like The Lion King or something, and like there was a child behind them going like, look, it's Pumbaa, look, it's Timon, and his dad just turned around and was like, are you going to do that the entire time?
Oh god. Cruel but true and fair.
Yeah, cruel but true.
Kids
I'll come
like deadball and say, yeah, I am. Fair enough.
The kid stood up and stood his ground. That's fair play.
Yeah.
Tim, how are you? How have you been since we last spoke?
I'm okay. Yeah, I've been doing a bit of podcast editing today, so
nice.
You know, that's kept me busy. And
Exciting stuff.
Yes, yeah. Otherwise, not much to report. I'm working on season 9 stuff.
Me too. Me too. I was writing some season 9 pitch scripts this morning, in fact. So.
I have to remember this is not a regular record, and we can't cut me out saying, "Oh, do you mean insert name of film here?"
Yeah, no spoilers, Matthew. No spoilers. Be careful. Be careful. Yeah, because we do find that a lot where we will hint at something, and then one of us will say like, "Oh yeah, you mean when we fixed Mad Max Fury Road?" And you're like, "Shut the fuck up!"
In the outtakes for one of the episodes, is Jack says, "Yeah, like Star Wars," and like Jack. Take that out. Matt, take this out. Yes, Star Wars. Matt, take out the Star Wars bit. Take these 2 out as well, Matt.
Fuck yes, the Star Wars. Oh yeah, we're doing Star Wars for the season finale. We can't talk about that yet. Exactly.
I had to do that quite a lot with Dave on the our latest extra episode we did on the SpiderMan No Way Home trailer.
Oh yeah,
and I have a little bit of inside knowledge on it because my brother-in-law works on the film.
Oh, nice!
But I'm 100% not allowed to say anything.
Of course, yeah.
So I was like, I'd say stuff, and I'm like, "Of course we know this," and they'd be like, "Do we know that?" And I was like, "Cut that bit, cut that out. We don't know that."
We know Alfred Molina is actually a cyborg. Oh shit! Oh no.
Yeah, maybe
any of these things.
Yeah, that's classic. Knowing film stuff and then forgetting film stuff and forgetting if films have even been released in the first place, and you're like, "Wait, can I talk about this now?" Yeah, that's normal.
Yeah, NDAs are such a weird thing, aren't they? Like the moment where you can suddenly, like as a reviewer, you're suddenly able to release your review and all this kind of stuff, and people get slapped with embargoes and all that kind of stuff. It's such a weird kind of concept to be in, and I find it fascinating. There are so many people that know so much stuff about, like Star Wars is the perfect example. Everybody's freaking out about what's The Force Awakens going to be like when it was building up to that moment, as we kind of talked about in our Rise of Skywalker episode. There's hundreds of people who know exactly how that film happens, and they all have to keep very quiet. Unless you're like people like Tom Holland, speaking of Spider-Man, who's just like, I don't fucking know. So I guess it's it's Doc Ock in this one. Oh shit! I mean, no Doc Ock in this one. Whoops. Yeah, well done, Tom. Brilliant. Yeah, I think he ended up playing up to it in the end and actually like not actually spoiling stuff on purpose.
Yeah,
I think the film with Tom Holland and Alfred Molina in it, they both seem to be spoiling it for each other. I think who can outdo it the most.
Yeah, there was lots of like, you know, is James Franco going to be? Oh, is Tobey Maguire? And Alfred Molina was just like walking along, being like, "Yeah, I'm in the new Spider-Man film. It's going to be great."
I can't wait. I'm excited. I fucking love his performance as Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2. We talked about it in our Spider-Man 3 episode, obviously, but like he is so good in that, and the possibility, the potential of having the crossovers of the universes and Doctor Strange being in there as well, and
I will say one thing, just one thing, because I think there is the air of possible hypocrisy from us, and I'm only saying this to be a douchebag. Basically, we will very actively say, like the Star Trek Into Darkness moment of "My name is Khan," and they have an audience going, "Oh shit!" And I was like, that doesn't mean anything to those characters because this is the first time they're meeting. It's for the audience solely, and I'm like, fuck me. Hello, Peter. Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's such amazing. Wait, no. Tom Holland's Parker has no relation to this character. He has no idea who he is. That's again for us. But I like this one. I didn't like the other one. I don't really know why. I don't know why.
And because it's a multiverse thing, which Peter is he saying hello, Peter, to?
Exactly.
It might not be Tom Holland.
That's the theory.
Yeah.
The clever editing there. You see Tom Holland wearing Tobey Maguire's suit, by the way, just as a little Easter egg.
Well, he died in Spider-Man 2, so I don't even know.
Exactly. This is this flashing back, dragging him out from like the middle of Spider-Man 2, and there's also a theory that Tom Holland's Peter Parker is like quantum leaping from other Spider-Men. Yeah. So what Alfred Molina's Doc Ock is seeing is Tobey Maguire's face. So if he looks in a mirror, it's going to show like a CGI Tobey Maguire, but actually it's Tom Holland in the background. And I was like, oh my God, I kind of hate that. And I'm a bit worried they're actually going to... Now you've like incepted that into my brain. I'm a bit worried that's plausible now. Like, do we need Spider-Man Quantum Leap? I don't think we do.
I am a little bit disappointed. Like when Homecoming came out, everyone was like, oh, it's so great, he's in high school, it's really grounded. There's that great bit where he's just like going around New York and like catching bike thieves and offering people, getting a churro from an old lady and stuff, and it's so grounded. And then like 2 films later we're like quantum trains exploding into the sky as Doctor Strange takes him on a tour of the multiverse.
We never really got your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man from Tom Holland. He was like off in Washington, DC doing other stuff.
Yeah.
We've not really had like a little him hanging out in New York kind of thing, really.
Yeah, one montage.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah, I when we saw that bit where he's at the end of Far From Home, where he's swinging through New York, I was like, oh yeah, this is what Spider-Man's meant. He's not meant to be swinging around Rome and places like that. He's meant to be in New York. Like I've missed this. And it's like, oh well, he might be in New York in this one, but it's going to be like New York except the Nazis one, and then New York if it was underwater,
or the Grand Canyon with the train running.
But who knows what that's
exactly.
Yeah, I get that.
Last of all, Matt, how are you? What have you been up to?
I am very stressed.
Oh, good.
I'm very tired.
Always to be fair, that's normal for Matt when he podcasts.
That's very true.
How are you, Matt? Tired is usually how he answers on the podcast.
It's true. That's how people answer people in real life. I saw Ashton's the other day, and he said, "Matt, the one day you don't answer that you're stressed is the day I know something's gone horribly wrong." But basically, we were filming today. That's a weird shot.
Some super happy kill time, I assume.
It was some super happy kill time, and I'm going to show you a single still, which will make no sense. It's a Doc Ock. No, it's not. There we go. That's Dan Tomlinson getting flicked in the face by Ash.
Behind the scenes, little sneaky preview right there.
Yeah, basically, we had 3, and it's a short story for you. We had 3 locations sorted for today, multiple things to get. Weather was looking good. Everything was doing fine. Everyone was ready. Dan Tomlinson came over from Bristol to do the shoot. Everything was like, we're on. It's great. It turned to be a bit of a disaster. And this is relevant to our whole Kevin Smith thing later for independent cinema in general and the control of a set. So despite the weather saying it would be clear all day, it rained repeatedly in Norwich, which is problematic at best when filming outside in a car park. But we managed to sort of like get a couple of shots. Like, no, we can do it. Okay, we're ready for our take, please. Mark the take. Let's go. And action. Get the line. Got the line. Okay, back in the car. So just literally get in the car and hide from the rain.
Nice.
Except there were 6 of us, so I hid in the boot. Just sitting there being dour and like really rain. That's fine. You work around that sort of stuff. You effectively figure it out because you have to. And one of our actors, Ryan Livermore, had to get away about midday, so we were on a time limit. But we managed to get it all. The shots were great. The big vial of blood would just splat across into an umbrella, and it was just very silly. Got the green screen shots we needed. All wonderful. All wrapped successfully. I still have blood caked all over my hands because that's how props work.
It's not ominous at all.
Yeah. And then also some fake blood. Yeah. So basically, it all went fine. We said, right, okay, we're wrapped here. Go to the second of 3 locations with just 2 of the actors. Ryan left, Dan left. We leave just ourselves with my friend Mully and Ash. And so we should, let's drive over there. It's only like a couple of minutes away, but it'd been raining back and forth. And yes, okay, it was sunny for the rest of the day, but we'll just give it a go. Turn the car over. Nothing happens. It's like, it's like, the fuck is this? And we basically had to make a decision whether to lock the car and go for the rest of the shoot and come back, what we were going to do, etc. We're in the car park and it's all paid up and we're out of the way, so it was fine. And we thought, maybe, obviously from Mully's performance, it's his car. He might be very distracted while filming, thinking about his bloody car not working. We can't call out someone immediately because obviously you have to be with the car when it arrives. So we said, oh no, we'll give it a minute. We'll see how it goes. And he then can't lock the car either. Part of the electric's gone in the lock. So he's like, oh no. So we sat in the car for 4 hours. Because I said we'd wait for it with him while the sort of breakdown service arrived in a car park in the middle of Norwich. And after 4 o'clock, I said, I have to go to an Airbnb to check in for some filming we're doing tomorrow, and I have to get back for the live stream. And he said, no, it's fine, no problem at all. So obviously we do right off. We've rescheduled for next Sunday, so that's good. Got set up for the live stream. I sent a message saying, all sorted. He said, nope, still in the car park. I'm like, oh, shit.
Oh,
holy Christ.
Yeah.
Just to be really annoying.
Who's he with?
He's just on his own.
Oh. No, I mean, is he with like AA?
Oh, fuck sponsorship. RAC. Fuck you. It's a bank holiday in England, so, you know.
It's going to be a really easy job when you get there because that's a flat battery. So essentially, like sitting in the car with the doors open, the lights on and stuff, you've probably flattened the battery a little bit.
Well, this is the thing.
Ticking noise is the starter motor trying to tick over and not.
Yeah. So he went through the side panel looking if it might be a fuse or not. But what's weird is I mentioned about the car, for example. When we were in the car, the radio wasn't on, lights went on. We were literally just shouting for the rain, looking over the script, and go back out again. So we have no idea how it just ran. And it's not like an old car. But the point is, we assume it's something very quick and easy. Is just a bump or whatever it needs to be, get a charge, yada, 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 yada. But very frustrating. And obviously, from a selfish point of view as a director, you tend to go, Of course, you have the rain and then this and then obviously we'll pick it up next week and it'll be fine. But that's why I literally sat down and logged into the stream and everything's chaotic and panicking and oh god. But it's all good, except he's still there. But it's all good. And if he's still there after the stream, I'm after one of them keeping company for a little while. So yeah, the madness of filming. Before
I went to university and studied film with Dave, I actually did a course in motorsport engineering and had all plans to go into motorsport, and so cars are my thing. Hence why we talk about Fast and Furious a lot, because I'm still really into like cars. And
so
stuff,
you can verify that it's 100% scientifically accurate.
Well, Rich, if you handle the engineering, I'll handle the physics of it. Yeah.
It's 100% inaccurate. I can tell you that
much. You can't just drive a big safe down the road. I can't imagine why.
Do you know how they did that?
They literally drove a safe. Yeah.
Well, the safe had a car inside it.
It's a whole car inside it. Yeah, it's mad.
Yeah. Yeah, and even then, I think it was very difficult to do.
Yeah.
Oh god. Well, before we get on to Kevin Smith films, Rich, why don't you give us a little intro about the podcast as a whole, if people haven't heard Unequal Sequel?
Unequal Sequel, if you've not heard it already, essentially we have a special guest on, and we try and get guests who are really passionate about movies, and it's worked really well so far. That the people we've had on are really been passionate about film, and we essentially ask them what their best sequel is, their worst sequel is, what their worst sequel is, and what their dream sequel would be. And I think, to be honest, worst sequel's my favourite, just because, you know, I like to have a little moan and a complain.
We know that well, my friend. We know that well.
And yeah, we've had a really great time with it, and you know, it's really going well. And Dave asked some really good supplementary questions about like your first sequel and your most disappointing sequel and things like that. And yeah, it's been a really good show. We can try and keep it under an hour, so it's sort of nice for your commute.
What's that like? I don't know. We haven't done that in like 3.5 years.
Yeah, I exist. Sorry.
Yeah. It was so funny when you guys had Matt on, and I was like, I noticed that their longest episode is like 65 minutes. How were you going to do this, Matt? He's like, I'm not. Oh, Matt has the 90-minute episode. It's like the longest episode of the history of Unequal Sequel, of course.
I think it was between Matt and we had the director Lewis Arnold, who's directed things like Time and Broadchurch and lots of really cool directing credits. Who we've known, who was at university with us, so we've known him a long time. And so there was that was we recorded for that for about 3 hours. And I think about 90 minutes of it made the edit. So, you know.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. And then I actually think episode 12 will be maybe our shortest one, mainly because the guests we had on had to go to something else really quickly. So we were like, okay, let's squeeze this in and have none of the extra talking. Let's just go.
Nice. No fuss, no muss. Kind of thing.
That's it. Just bang, 3 questions.
Yeah.
Done.
I'll look at it, it's like an hour and 10. I'll listen to the episode. They're like, oh, a 20-minute musical interlude. Nice.
No, we won't need to do that, hopefully. But it's a really entertaining episode. We thought Dave has an irrational fear of puppets, and 2 of the films in this next episode coming up are he's literally too scared to watch.
God, there's not a lot of puppet sequels out there.
But there's
have
more
you
than
have you seen the Annabelle series, Tim?
Annabelle,
Thank you very much.
Oh yeah, God.
The Chucky series.
Yeah.
And if you think of like anything Frank Oz based or anything kind of
right.
Is he scared of Muppets as well as like
all
Muppets
of it
in general?
all of it.
Oh my God,
everything.
Wow. You're scared of Muppets? They're the best things.
His worst nightmare is the Dark Crystal. That's literally his worst nightmare.
Yeah,
I mean that is quite scary. Like there's some obviously scary designs there. I would think like Sesame Street and Muppets would be this is the safe space. You know what I mean? Like this is for kids.
So I'm glad that we got Dave to confront his fears, because Matt got me to confront my big childhood nightmare of things crawling in my ear, thanks to Star Trek 2 Wrath of Khan. Cheers for that.
I do what I can.
We can get Matt to watch like Free Willy or something and confront his fear of whales.
We need to.
My favorite was from Star Trek 4. I've done that to myself. I don't
Yeah.
Stranding, for Christ's sake.
Oh, that's so funny. The new trailer for I always want to talk about video games because I always do. The new Death Stranding director's cut trailer that happened at the opening night live of recently with Jeff Keighley, and it was like, yeah, cool, this all looks great. And the final shot is a giant fucking sperm whale's mouth with the teeth and everything erupting out of the darkness, about to eat the main character. I was like, hey Matt, did you see that? And I just sent him a screenshot of it, and then let me find the exact wording from
Never reveal your fears or weaknesses to anybody, be they friend, ally, or otherwise.
Especially me.
Against you.
Yeah.
My fear is being sent money from anonymous sources.
I mean, that is quite stressful. I'd be just gonna. Where does money come from? Are they going to report me? I don't. I did. It's not my money. No, that actually sounds legitimate.
I put, wow, even I think this whale is scary, and then did the screenshot of the creepy whale coming out. And then Matt replied in all caps, why would you post that here, you cunt?
It's true. And then you showed me again.
I need to refocus my camera now. There you go. Oh god, I'm all out of focus.
That's the
Thanks,
price
phone.
you pay
That is the price I pay for scaring
for
you.
whale flotation.
Yeah, exactly. I honestly don't know how to refocus my camera.
I
Come
mean,
on.
not that.
Do the hand thing.
Is the hand thing? Is that a
The hand
thing?
thing, right? Yeah. It tries to grab onto something and then you pull it back and it reaches the thing, right?
It's not working.
It's not working. Whatever you're doing, it's not working. Who knows?
Whatever I'm doing, it's not working.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Godsmack.
So
Cool.
we're going to talk about Kevin Smith movies. Rich, it was your choice as our guest to talk about
was
Kevin
my
Smith.
choice. I have to say, it was a choice. One, because I like Kevin Smith as a person. I don't necessarily like all of his movies, but then I don't think even Kevin Smith likes all of his movies. So I think that's going to be fun. But also the fact that almost every director I know you'd already chosen. You've already done. So I was like, who's a director with a big back catalogue? I was like, Scorsese, Spielberg, who can we do here? And I was like, you've done all of these already. So yeah, Kevin Smith is a good one. And that kind of came to me because I was thinking like, could I squeeze like Aaron Sorkin in as a writer instead of a director? But yeah,
two or three directed films, I think, at this point.
Yeah, we have talked about branching out, and like once we've kind of tackled a lot of the big directors and stuff, we want to do like a big showdown of the directors. So we then have a bracket with all of their winners battle out to see who's the ultimate winner, and then maybe we'll talk about actors' careers or writers' careers or whatever it is, and think about composers, even stuff like that, and kind of shake it up a bit. So yeah, we might have you back on for some. Oh god, oh god. So we have his top 100 here. This is giant bracket.
Yeah.
And I think
me zooming in for an hour.
I mean, on our podcast, Dave very much is the film nerd. Really, he's the guy that knows all the directors, all the actors. He knows everything, and I just turn up and make acerbic comments about stuff. So
you're the me of that. Really. You're the me of your show, basically. That's you and I.
It sound that way.
Yeah. Dave is the Matt, and Matt is the Dave, and Rich is the Jack, and Jack is the Rich.
It's interesting with Kevin Smith specifically because I think we're of a similar age, the four of us, give or take a couple of years either side. But for people who are interested in film of our age, Kevin Smith is very much a staple of like our introduction, because somebody usually pushes like a VHS or a DVD to hand saying, you should watch this. It's really lo-fi, it's really grungy, but no. And we'll get to this later, obviously. But the idea of the importance of Kevin Smith and the era he comes from, I don't think you really get that kind of creator at the minute, just because, and this is me doing a disservice to anybody, hopefully, working with younger people on like my web series and other bits and pieces of other directing jobs, they're so camera ready because of YouTube. They are like born with touch screens, and I don't sound like an old fart. No, technology.
You are, whether you want to or not.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but like phones having like cameras on them and stuff, and the fact that you have this thing, and everyone's like putting like it creates a point. I can't remember the name of it. There's a Korean YouTube channel, which is an English dude who used to live in Korea, back in England, very successful. I think it's called The Korean Englishman, and he was taking Korean street food to a school back in London. I think it might have been his old school when he was a kid. And I just kept thinking, everyone I know in school, yeah, you get some bullshit kids, like, oh no, I'll do it. But at 15, they'd be like quite useless in terms of like on. These kids, all of them are so good with the cameras. They're so ready for it because they grew up with it. So the idea that Kevin Smith went to film school in Canada, met Mosier, comes back, does this sort of small film, goes, ball rolling very quickly because of things like that in the festivals.
The director of that Grinch movie, Scott Mosier, which still melts my brain.
I can't with that, but they'll come back to that in a minute.
No.
I didn't really care about the Ron Howard Grinch film until I saw that one, and I was like, wow. With Into the Spider-Verse, you've done so much visually. You can show how much animation can push the boundary of what we expect. And the Grinch looks like it's beat for beat, shot for shot, like a really boring, regular film. And yet the live-action Ron Howard one does so much more. It's like how, and that's 20 years old. But anyway, they come back and they make these movies and they just sort of bundle their way through. Like, oh, this is, we're filming, we're finding out. And the reason their career got huge is because when the first film Clerks was screened at a festival, it was like the last day of the festival, something like that. Oh, great, that's where the best ones all turn up. They got to the cinema, and it was like just them and like 3 other people. One happened to be a critic. I can't remember the guy's name. And his good review gained traction. It did all this stuff, and it got to the point where they could go. And again, even festivals aren't like that at the minute. It's such a strange environment to release films. I don't think there would be this specific. There's an old quote from comics creators, which is anybody telling you how they got into comics, it's like following a trail into the woods, and that woods morphs behind you. You can't get in that way again.
Yeah. Every path into comics closes up after someone's been down it.
Precisely, like a swamp that just forms back over you. Like, oh, and his path into cinema and filmmaking, like, his like small film does well, gets in with Weinstein, and then it's like he manages to just charm his way through things, does these films with amazing dialogue, gets further. He does Chasing Amy, and by the time he gets there, he has made such an impact in the independent world that Alan Rickman's like, whatever you're doing next, I want to work on it because you're really interesting to me. That kind of shit. We're now at the point where we're like, you did a really interesting independent film for like maybe $20-30 million. That's really cool. Do you want a Marvel movie? Do you want a Jurassic Park movie? It's like,
yeah,
Trank and Trevorrow and all these people, and they're like being like tested. And it's like, oh God, no, give them a mid-tier film to work their way and make their mistakes in the dark, as it were, not like here's a huge franchise something to be pissed off about.
I think the thing with Kevin Smith is that he is an auteur, and so he makes movies that he's written and then edits those movies as well. He kind of does. He's like a write the theme tune, sing the theme tune kind of guy. But for me, like getting into film, the reason I kind of love Kevin Smith is you're absolutely right. In 1994, when they made Clerks, you did have an iPhone that you could just pick up and record in decent quality. It cost you thousands and millions of dollars to get anything near it, like something suitable you could show in a theatre. And he sold his comic book collection to fund it. And he made it on like 35p and a Twix. He's like, I love that.
And that's the inspiration. And he was inspired by Linklater, and he has.
It was Slacker by Richard Linklater that he always cited as like his. Yeah, that's a film. You can make a film that's just people talking. I could do that. Holy shit! And it was like, yeah. And then he has then become the Slacker and Linklater for so many other filmmakers. Again, people of our generation. Matt, you're an independent filmmaker. Rich, you went to film school as well. Like, so many people of our generation grew up watching Kevin Smith's movies and thinking like, well, I could make a Clerks. Like, it's a black and white thing. It's shot in a shop. Like, that's it. Basically, it's like 3 different locations, which is outside, inside, and on top of one building. It's like,
and again, just thinking about when I was a kid, of like being like 14, 15, 16, as a tubby little stoner that didn't really know what to do with his life. I mean, I didn't want to say you give me Kevin Smith vibes.
You give me Kevin Smith vibes. Take it as a compliment.
Oh, I will. Oh, don't worry.
You've got the beard, you've got the dark hair. Like, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely. He's lost the weight now, though, so I'm gonna have to work on that.
Yeah, you need to go. You need to go hardcore vegan like he did, and just lose all the weight and have a heart attack and get kicked off a plane and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, hopefully not the heart attack.
Yeah,
it's all or nothing. You got to commit.
Acting, Rich. Acting. Come on, commit to the bit. So was there a particular reason you picked Kevin Smith, apart from the fact that we'd already done Spielberg and Scorsese and some of the other big ones? Is it because he was such an inspiration to you as a young filmmaker? Is that kind of a big part of it?
It was mainly because I wanted to pick someone whose films I'd seen most of them. I'd seen most of those movies. And I was like, there's only a couple that I've avoided, like, Cop Out I hadn't seen, but I had heard the hideous stories of how bad it was to make. So, yeah, and also I thought, so my first podcast I did with Dave, we did something called we did a Baywatch based podcast, and I don't think we're going to do any more episodes because essentially I hate Baywatch. And what I realised is I'd signed up to watch 11 years worth of Baywatch.
Holy shit! There's 11 years of Baywatch. Wow.
Oh, yeah. Well, when you do an episode a week, there's a lot.
Fucking hell.
And I thought, you know what? Life is too short to watch stuff you hate every week. Like, I will watch some stuff I like. Like,
That's why we get into seasons.
Yeah,
we literally need to give ourselves a break from watching bad sequels to be like, okay,
absolutely.
much in a similar way to you guys, like dream sequels. We always have our dream sequel we want to see episode at the start of the interseason to kind of like cleanse ourselves of all the bad energy that comes with all the bad sequels we've been talking about for the last 3 months. It's like, oh god.
With you guys, that's great because you guys are the ones that come up with the sequel. We put all that work on the guest, so they only have to come and do one. Like,
funnily enough, we did talk about like, we could have guests on the show and stuff. That'd be fine. It's like, well, either they're judging our writing and just coming in and being like, Jack, you're shit. This is how I do Wolverine. Or we're like, here you go, write 5,000 words and redo X-Men Origins Wolverine by this date.
Critique it.
And then we're going to critique it, exactly. And then we'll talk shit about you. And it's like, oh, God, no, that's not. That's cruel. Either way, it's cruel. So we thought, have people on the live streams talking about stuff they like, talking about directors and stuff. It's going to be much easier, much nicer format to have guests on. And I'm really pleased you are our first ever guest. It's really cool to have you on, man.
That's really, really amazing. And I'm now a little bit more nervous than I was before. Because I'm the first.
The reality's sinking in, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely. I'm quite looking forward to the bit where I get to defend Jersey Girl because I think I'm the only person in the world who doesn't hate it. So
no spoilers, Matt. No spoilers.
Yeah. Right. Should we get to the bracket? By the way, should we have a look?
We should get into it. Yeah. So I will just do a little swappy doodle here. Get rid of that. Intro that. There we go. Welcome to the Kevin Smith bracket, everybody. Matt, over to you with the weather. You have
raining,
control.
and it disrupted my day of filming. Anyway, no, it wasn't even forecast to rain today. So it's a very wonky bracket. John Scarrett, a wonderful designer, very, very kindly put this together as he usually does, but it's so uneven. It's so broken, and that's not.
It's not
either.
It's not hugely uneven.
Sequel, right?
It's so broken. No, that's not the problem. That's lovely, and let's have a good old zoom.
It's because Kevin Smith has directed 13 movies, right? So we're like this weird, awkward.
If he had one less film, it would be perfectly symmetrical.
Exactly.
We should have waited for Clerks 3. Is that what you're saying?
So, with the seeding stuff, we have 3 internal films, which we'll get to in a second. Let's look at what we've got based on the general seed to start with. Red State versus Jersey Girl and Clerks eventually on the ticket there. We'll go into more detail, obviously, as we go through. Chasing Amy and Yoga Hoses. I haven't seen this bracket, I don't think. Oh, my God. Talk about 2 different parts of a man's career. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Morats versus Tusk. It's going to be just classic Smith versus contemporary Smith. And I feel like
pretty much.
This might be our easiest one to start with. Jay and Silent Bob Straight Back versus Cop Out, which will go up against Clerks 2. And then finally, we have Zack and Miri Make a Porno versus Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, which goes up against Dogma. So it's... I want this one. It's not too... If I had to predict what this thing would look like, this is exactly how I would frame it. I imagine it'd be like, oh yeah, you'd have all the older stuff versus the newer stuff, in inverted commas, and you'd have what could be arguably considered the 4 tenets. What's interesting in our little bracketing system and how this is seeded, I thought Chasing Amy would be a lot higher. And we'll get into it when we actually get round to it. But Chasing Amy is one of those... Actually, no, fuck it. All of Kevin Smith's films are ones that have aged interestingly.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff is like, this
There's a lot of gay jokes and stuff.
But now it's not.
This was the 90s, wasn't it? Christ.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff to juggle here. We'll obviously go through. Before we get any further, as we like to do and always seem to forget to do we have any thoughts on who is going to win?
I have a clear favourite, and I know some people are predicting in the chat here. So Tim A is predicting a Dogma versus Clerks in the final, which I think is interesting. They're on either side of the bracket, so it's certainly possible. Xenos, in classic form for old Xenos, has not seen any Kevin Smith movies because somehow he's a big supporter of our show, but has never watched any film. So I've never understood that. But God bless you, Zenos.
But yeah, we love you.
And your weird little octopus, man.
It's great because what happens is that he gets these amazing recommendations like, so should I watch this? Yeah. And it's like, oh, I'll watch this. It's like you're getting like this recommendation list of just the cream, as it were.
Yeah.
And we have like, oh, Crow is great. Don't watch Crow, City of Angels. Like, okay, I'll watch that sort of thing. So yeah.
We have a General Pandemonium says, I've seen a few, but to be honest, the only one I liked is Clerks. And then a follow-up to that is, actually, when I say I've seen a few, I mean 2.
I hope it's Clerks and Clerks 2.
Oh, God, yeah. Tim said he's seen all but Cop Out, so that's a fair, yeah. You're not missing anything from Cop Out, so that's fine.
Even the most ardent of Kevin Smith fans,
even Kevin Smith himself, who is, as he says, his number one fan.
Yeah,
even he doesn't like Cop Out.
Well, it's not that. I think it's more just like the idea of like them saying like, "Have you seen all the films?" It's like, yeah. Can you name them all? And you go through them. Oh yeah, I forgot that's one. Oh, I haven't seen that one. There's always something that sort of slips through. Yeah.
I hadn't seen Kevin and Smith. What the fuck am I talking about? Jay and Silent
Kevin
Bob
and Perry.
Reboot. Yeah, Kevin and Perry Go Large. That's what I hadn't seen. I hadn't seen Jay and Silent Bob Reboot until a couple of weeks ago. In preparation for this, I watched it on Netflix. For those of you out there, a lot of Kevin Smith stuff is currently on Netflix in the UK. So if you do want to catch up on any of this stuff, because Reboot was released in the UK through Netflix, he got a bunch of the broadcast rights for a bunch of his other stuff. So yeah, you go and check it out on Netflix from the ones we do recommend from this list. But that was the only one I hadn't seen before today, essentially. Matt, I assume you'd seen them all. And I think you watched Reboot fairly recently as well, because you were messaging us saying like, oh God, what is this?
Opinions of that film.
I remember the group chat filling up with Matt's angry messages, so that was fun.
That one will not win. I'm just going to say it right now.
Yeah. Tim, how about you? How many had you seen before preparing for this?
I mean, I was a big Kevin Smith fan in my youth, but I bowed out around the Clerks 2 Cop Out period. So I had seen both of those. And I think that was as far as I got. And then more recently, in preparation for this... perspective,
Cop Out is 2010. So that's over 10 years ago.
Yeah. So I hadn't seen anything more recent than that. And then I watched the others in preparation for this. So that's, I think, Red State, Tusk,
Yoga Hosers, and Reboot.
Yeah.
Zack and Miri post 2010?
Oh,
it's slightly before Cop Out.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's 2008. So yeah.
God, it really was it. Oh my God.
Between Clerks 2 and Cop Out. So yeah. And Rich, since you picked Kevin Smith, how many had you seen before this last?
I'd seen all of them apart from Cop Out and Yoga Hosers, both of which I had heard were very, very bad, and so hadn't watched them. And so I watched them for, especially knowing this podcast coming up, and I've tried to kind of catch up and rewatch everything I could.
Me too.
Everything that I had time for as well.
Yeah.
However, I didn't manage to rewatch the Reboot. So I've got vague kind of memories of that, but I didn't get around to it. Yeah, I'm sure it will. But yeah, I think I watched most of them again. I didn't watch Dogma again because I've watched it about 45,000 times. So I thought I don't need to watch that one again. But yeah, Cop Out, Yoga Hosers, they're two I hadn't seen before. And yeah, I remember again trying to explain Yoga Hosers to Dave when I was saying I was watching it, and I was like, and yeah, this happened, and then I don't know why. I don't know what any of this is.
Nope. Who do you think is going to win? Or do you have any clear favorite you would like to win? I guess.
Yeah, what would be your personal?
For my personal favorite is Dogma. Again, a lot of Kevin Smith fans sort of Clerks is their number one, and I think that's probably the highest rated on IMDb. But yeah, Dogma is my kind of entrance to Kevin Smith. I think I don't think I saw Clerks until after I'd seen Dogma. So.
Mine was exactly the same.
I think I saw Mallrats first. I think actually that was my first one, but didn't realise it was a thing. You know, I think I just seen Mallrats and thought, oh, that's all right, and didn't realise there was this whole View Askew universe.
I had an almost identical experience, like knowing. Weird enough, I always bring up my parents because they're big film watchers. My mum fucking loves Dogma. It's like one of her favorite movies. I don't know why. She fucking loves Dogma.
Your mum's got great taste.
My mum has great taste. Like I said, my parents have been very influential in me watching films growing up and stuff. My dad getting me into all the sci-fi and the westerny kind of stuff when I was really young, and then my mum getting into like all the crime. She got me into Coen Brothers and stuff. Like Fargo is one of her favorite movies ever. All that kind of stuff. And yeah, I remember my mum sitting me down and being like, "You have to watch this. This film is called Dogma." I was like, "What?"
I would have go to the cinema with your mum. That's like your mum's movie taste is exactly my movie taste.
You leave my mum alone, Rich. She's a saint. But yeah, it's a weird thing of kind of like I grew up watching Kevin Smith via my parents of all things, and you think like, oh yeah, it's totally a teenager would get into it. It's like, no, it was my at the time, like 45-year-old mum being like, sit down and watch Dogma with me, kid. I'm like, okay, mum.
There is this whole
these
thing
two
about
stoners. I'm like, what's a stoner, mum? Okay, yeah.
There's this whole thing that Kevin Smith talks about where he's like, his fans kind of follow him around, and he's like, you see the same old faces, but the thing is now the same old faces are bringing their 16-year-old kids to my live shows too, and so he's starting to see these much younger faces. But yeah,
it's a bit like that. I've seen this thing. It's like a clipping from like some magazine or whatever, and someone's sort of like talking about music they like, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I've picked this song by the Pixies because it reminds me of the music my grandparents used to listen to when I was growing up with them." And it's like, oh my god, it's like the end of Last Crusade. Can just feel myself aging in real time.
I have got an age-related fact about Jersey Girl. Is that the little girl from Jersey Girl is now the same age as Liv Tyler was when she was in Jersey Girl.
Holy shit. God.
It's quite scary. Like
wow.
Liv Tyler was 27 when she made Jersey Girl, and that little girl is now 27 years old.
Bloody hell.
I know.
I think it's... No, we've discussed this before. Too many things. We keep going back to old man chat of when we end up saying like, God, can you? I still say 20 years, 1980, but it's true, and we feel it, and we're like, oh God. The 2000s, 2010s, despite being such huge years from when I went to being a teenager to what I am now, whatever the fuck that is,
cranky old man.
Yeah, it's like, so much has happened, Matt. Obviously, like life has been like, yes, but if I think about the number, like Minority Report, and you're like, oh God, yeah, that's only 20 years old. What? That kind of stuff. Yeah.
I think it hit. I work in a university, and I think it hit home when I realised that my group of students that I work with this year are younger than the Marshall Mathers LP by Eminem.
That's your
I'm really old.
Cut-off point. What happened? There is pre-Marshall Mathers and post-Marshall Mathers, and that's how you define epochs in time and culture. Yeah. I have that with like thinking about people who are younger than me. Like it used to be, are you younger than Jurassic Park? Because Jurassic Park is a few years younger than me. I was born in 1990, came out in 93. It was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like okay, yeah. So if you were born after Jurassic Park came out, you're a young person to me. Now, those people are like nearly 30, and I'm like, oh no, the people I used to think were young people are now adults themselves. What does that make me? Oh no.
My equivalent was, we're getting so sidetracked. My equivalent was in 1984 was when I was born. My password and national insurance number is, oh no! I was born in 1984, and I remember friends saying like, oh yeah, when I was a kid, like maybe 6-7 years old, I went to see Star Wars. I thought, Star Wars 1977, how the fuck old are you, old man? It's like it was like 7 years before I was born. But the equivalent now is me saying like, oh yeah, Jurassic Park to somebody who is born in 99, going, all right, doesn't sound like your moving experience when you're a child in cinema. I was like, you listen here, you little runt. A 30-year-old. Yeah, it's very surreal, and I think Kevin Smith's career is literally cut down the middle between. Actually, yeah, I think his career is cut down the. I want to make a statement. Cut down the middle from when he had his kid. So.
Oh, okay.
It was
the arrival of Harley Quinn Smith.
Yeah, and then his child was born, and then the films got bad, and then she arrives in them.
He did start casting her in a lot of stuff, and even like young Jay and Silent Bob, young Jay is Harley Quinn, I think, and then and
she's Clerks 2 as a kid in the window just waving or something. So I know she's been in it for a while, but it just there was a turning point, which is, let's face it, the 2000s, where things go bad. But yeah, should we
get into
Let's get stuck in, shall we?
Let's do this.
Okay. I've got my Rotten Tomatoes. I apologize if I'm looking off over here. I've got my other screen with all my Rotten Tomatoes data, so I'm ready to get stuck in with that as well.
Right. So we have two of our opening films. Right. Two, I think there's a classic. Even Kevin Smith fans will go, "Oh yeah, I haven't seen these two," kind of thing. So we have 2011's Red State, sort of his first foray into actual, almost unrecognizable Kevin Smith film in this horror.
Yeah, one of the least Kevin Smithy Kevin Smith films.
Yeah. And 2004's Jersey Girl, which he tried to get away from the things he was doing, and everyone said, "No, where's Jay and Silent Bob?" Yada yada yada. And maybe have derailed his entire career back to, well, I'll just give the fans what they want. They're two very interesting movies, in my opinion, primarily because they're trying different things with reasonable success both times. I think both of them are, so shall we say, hated by different people for different reasons. But I think they have merits in their own place. And we've, just to clarify, we've all seen all of these movies. Is that correct? Except
that is correct.
Okay, because usually at this point we're saying, "Have you guys seen?" But we have. But we can get that right out of the way. Yeah. Good, right?
This is a slightly smaller bracket than usual. It's a bit easier, as you said, Rich, to have seen all of them, so we can get away with like, "Have you seen all 55 of Martin Scorsese's movies?" Like, no. But, yeah. Thankfully, we've all seen these ones, so we will be able to judge. However, we may run into the problem that there is now an even number of us. So instead of the usual thing where we have a dissenter or we haven't seen it or whatever, we will go to the chat if there is a tie. So be prepared, live chat. We will come to you if we have two people voting one way and two people voting another way, which might happen. I honestly don't know. We will. I feel like I run like a test each time we do this, literally to test that the bracket is working, because, technical difficulties with the software and stuff. But to think, like, what would be my pick if it was just me sat here on my own? First of all, terrible show. Second of all, what would be my picks, and like, what is my, if I had God control over this whole thing, if I gained the system. And it was like a pretty easy pick for me for the most part, but I feel like that every time, and then we start talking about it, and I'm like, oh shit, yeah, that was really good, or that's not as good as I remember it was, or all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
I get surprised by how I end up voting in these things sometimes, but we'll see. So
I think this is actually one of the more difficult matchups of the starting ones.
I agree, for sure.
Am I right in thinking these are right next to each other in his filmography? It went Jersey Girl and then...
No.
It went... There's Clerks 2 in between, isn't it?
There's actually a few things.
There's a 7-year... So there's Clerks 2, there's Zack and Miri Make a Porno, and Cop Out between the two.
Oh, of course, yeah. Okay.
The dark period, we don't talk about.
Yeah. But I do think there's... I think you're right in calling it the dark period, because I remember when Jersey Girl came out, and I was still quite a big... I went to see it in the cinema. And I didn't particularly care for it, but I also thought it was fine. I didn't hate it when I saw it. Same. And rewatching it, I was like, yeah, it's fine. It's interesting. It's him trying to tamp down his sensibilities a little bit. There's a little bit less cussing. It's him trying to make more of a conventional family film. I don't think it got caught up in the whole Bennifer stuff. The fact that Jiggly came out at pretty much the same time was absolutely trashed, and this got kind of splash damage from that.
Very much
And I think it's kind of unfairly maligned because it's him. And there was a recent Patrick Willems video looking back at Kevin Smith's filmography, and he says like this is him actually trying to push himself as a filmmaker because he is a notoriously lazy director in terms of things like shot choice and stuff like that, and actually the pure mechanics of filmmaking. And you know, he was working with a veteran cinematographer. I forget whose name it is now, but he's the guy who shot stuff like Deliverance and Heaven's Gate and stuff like that. It's like he was
Vilmos Zsigmond.
That's it. Yes.
Oh yeah.
And it is, if you watch it, it is actually him trying to do more than he usually does as a filmmaker, which is just point the camera at the dialogue and have the people say the good words.
Yes.
And I think Red State is kind of similar in that it's him pushing into a genre that he hasn't particularly worked in before. He does try to do a bit more with the filmmaking. You can still tell it's a Kevin Smith because people won't fucking shut up in it. But it's very different to what he had previously made. But Jersey Girl was obviously got a critical... It was him trying something new. It was him out of the Askew-universe for the very first time. And people didn't like it. It got bad critical response. And he basically said, like, well, fuck it. And went back and made Clerks 2 afterwards. And then Red State was the one that he auctioned off because he was sick of film distributors. And I think both of these represent certain turning points in his career.
I agree.
And as time has gone on, he has basically gone more and more, fuck it, I'm just making films for people who I know are already going to like the films that I make.
Yeah, I listened to a lot of Smodcasts at the time, and you're right, Tim, entirely. There are very clear moments where he shifts, and the whole like, oh, I'm Clerks, I'm a filmmaker. Oh no, Morat's such a different experience. And Jay and Silent Bob is me it literally ends with Alanis Morissette closing the book. It's over now, we're done. Jersey Girl's me being a new and different filmmaker, and oh god, it didn't work, I'm spiraling, oh god, I'll work on these other projects, oh god. Red State's the whole, fuck the studios. I'll do it this way. And then Tusk, Yoga Hosers, the reboot, all that stuff, it becomes, and I remember him getting more and more high, basically, after he worked with Seth Rogen. And he was saying, like, do you know what I just want to do? I just kind of want to do the podcast. I don't really... He almost like lost his... any passion he had. He was like doing, a couple of episodes of various TV bits and pieces, and he did the, things, because the times he tried to pivot and do something dramatically different, it had fallen by the side of the road because either the fans weren't there for it or he was already labeled with the baggage of what came before. So it's I think this is a very interesting matchup for that reason, because they're appropriately, I think maybe the films he's trying the most in.
Yeah,
with me
not necessarily successfully.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, I'm a massive defender of Jersey Girl. I actually think Jersey Girl's a really nice film. It's a really nice movie, and there are really good things about it. There are things that annoy me about it too. I mean, Ben Affleck is far too selfish. No, I don't think there are any dads who end up being that good a dad who aren't less selfish than that to start with. And I think Liv Tyler in it is brilliant, but chronically underwritten. I think that Kevin Smith really struggles to write for women. I think that's it. She just feels like she's not enough. She's not. There's so much more that character can do, and so much more that character can be. And those are the two flaws with it, really. But I think you're right. I think it got hit with the Bennifer stuff, which didn't help it. But actually, you watch it for a pure movie, and I watched it last night because I just wanted to watch it again, and it's nice. And it's got George Carlin in it, and he's brilliant. He's so good in it, and it's so heartwarming. And then Red State is completely the opposite. Like it's nothing heartwarming about it. Everything in it is kind of horrible and miserable, and everyone dies. Like literally everyone.
Aggressively oppressive, and also kind of a interesting companion piece with Dogma, considering the nature of the idea of religion and the effect it has on people, etc., etc. So, yeah, I think both are interesting watches. Put it that way.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm
And again,
really not sure I'm going to vote with this.
I do like Red State as well. That's the other thing, is that they are. Both of these feel like different styles of Kevin Smith movie, and I like both of them. And I could have
the director. We say about he's quite lazy, but the fact that he can do these two dramatically different looking and feeling films is a testament to someone who has talent at the end of the day.
Yeah, and still feel like they're his films as well.
Yes.
They both they do still feel like Kevin Smith movies. And I really like wordy movies. I like well-written, talky movies where people say clever stuff and you think, oh, I wish I was like that. And those sort of movies I like. And so that's no wonder that I like Kevin Smith films, really. But yeah, this is a tough one for me as well. I mean...
So... Let's see what the critics think, shall we? We go to Rotten Tomatoes. Let's think about 2004's Jersey Girl. People do not agree with you, Rich. It is 42% on the tomatometer, with an audience score ever so slightly higher at 48%.
And I think, again, that's probably because it's not like all the other Kevin Smith movies. It's the first one that came along where Kevin Smith fans went, this isn't...
Yeah.
Who's stoned in this movie? Like, no one.
Bear in mind, like, this is a mixture of, like, at the time contemporary reviews and occasionally some modern reviews in there as well. So at the time there was huge backlash against it. You're totally right.
And I think more modern reviews would judge it less harshly. Personally.
Well, it feels weird. It feels weirdly like a film out of time to me. It feels like if it had come out 5 or 6 years earlier, it would have been of a piece with other stuff that was coming out at the time. I'm trying to think of the George Clooney and Michelle Pfeiffer film, One Fine Day.
One Fine Day,
I think it's called, where it's like them and their kids.
Yes,
something happens. I don't know, but it's like a rom-com and the kids are involved and stuff. And it feels like it belongs with that kind of film, which I don't think was really getting made in the turn of the millennium. I don't think Jersey Girl ever knew who its audience was or found it. And I'm not sure, even I would struggle to be like, I guess it's kind of like a date movie, I guess. But for like people who are already married, maybe.
I feel like if you release this instead of Dogma, late 90s, right after Chasing Amy, it wouldn't have got the flack of, but that's not your thing. Because if this thing had been Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Jersey Girl, I'd be like, I did these films. I did this one.
Yeah, there's a path of maturation that you can see there.
Yeah, but because you did Dogma and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, it's like, no, that's what you are, and you've been boxed and booked, and that's what's successful. Do not, stay in your lane, kind of stuff.
As is often the case with creative people who have a style and stuff. Like Rich, you described it as Kevin Smith as an auteur earlier. I think like you can call him that because he has such a distinct style to so much of his work. And as soon as you deviate from that kind of thing, people start freaking out. That's a case with so many writers, filmmakers, everything. Like, that's quite a common thing for that to happen with audience backlash and all that kind of stuff. So let's talk about Red State. In 2011, as you said earlier, Matt, a 60%, so a bit higher on the tomatometer, with a audience score slightly lower, funnily enough, which is unusual for us to see, of 54%. So the audience scores are quite a lot closer because Jersey Girl slightly higher, Red State slightly lower. But yeah, a noticeable kind of step up for Red State in terms of critical response, which I thought was interesting because I think a lot of that film really hangs on the person we've chosen there for the screenshot, Mr. Michael Parks, the late great Michael Parks, where Kevin Smith basically like fell in love with him and was like, I need to make a movie for Michael Parks to be amazing in because he's amazing and people don't know how amazing he is. And mostly inspired from what I understand from, again, listening to podcasts back in the day and all that kind of stuff. The Texas Ranger he plays in From Dusk Till Dawn, Kevin Smith got a bit obsessed with that moment and that character being like, he's on screen for like 3 minutes and he's fucking captivating. He needs to be on screen for 90 minutes because that's how good he's going to be. And basically like came up with this whole thing, approached Michael Parks. Michael Parks was like, yeah, okay, sure. And then basically wrote Red State for Michael Parks and created this whole thing for him. And I think his performance is, as Cooper, Aben Cooper, is fantastic. he is like a really big standout in that film. I think it really kind of showcases how good he is. And he did go on to have other great roles as well following that until his, until a few years earlier when he died. But like, yeah, Michael Parks has done some amazing stuff, and I think he really his central performance really carries that because he is so creepy and terrifying. And obviously, we'll talk about a bit later on in another film as well, because like I said, Kevin Smith kind of fell in love with him, and when Kevin Smith likes people, he casts them in his movies multiple times. You're going to see a lot of Ben Affleck, a lot of his kids and his wife and his friends. Yeah. So yeah.
But again, if people come back, it's easy to say.
Well,
you know
what? Ben Affleck didn't for like 15 years, but
maybe I wasn't asked.
And I think I'd be like that as well. If I was a filmmaker, I'd kind of want all my friends to be in it. And it's kind of like that as a fan, there's kind of that nice recognition of going, oh, look, it popped up there. I think that's nice.
Tell them Steve Dave guys. Hey, there we go. Like they had a whole podcast and then they got their own TV show with comic book men and they became celebrities in their own right and shit. Oh, it's just a whole Kevin Smith thing.
A lot of auteurs do. You look at the Coen brothers. You look at Wes Anderson. That they all have their like little troops of regularly cast people.
Even like Sam Raimi, you're like, when's Ted Raimi and Bruce Campbell turning up? It's not a fucking Sam Raimi film unless those two turn up somewhere.
Where's the car, Sam? Where's the car? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
okay. It's a Ron Howard film. Where's he going to put his brother?
Clint Howard gets a pivotal role.
Clint Howard, who has a career entirely off the back of his more successful brother.
Yeah.
Anyway, shall we vote, gentlemen?
I one final thing to say about Red State is that as much as Jersey Girl feels like it kind of came along a little bit too late, I feel like if you made Red State now or in the last 5 years and slapped an A24 label in front of it, it would have got a lot better reception.
I agree.
Yeah.
So voting, the way we do this, it usually goes 1, 2, 3, in this case 4, and we alternate. So it will start with Jack, then the next round will be me, the next one will be Tim, next one will be Rich. So Jack, you're voting first. How are you voting?
I am voting, perhaps controversially, for Red State. Matt, on to you next. Are we going to have a split in the first vote? Oh, no.
Yeah, as nice as Jersey Girl is, I think it's Red State.
Oh, no. It's controversial.
Tim, what about you?
I think we're heading that way because I'm voting Jersey Girl.
Right off the bat.
Oh, no. The moment I dreaded of having, we'll have a fourth person on, it'll be fine. Oh, shit,
I'm really sorry.
Be true to yourself, man.
Yeah, it's Jersey Girl for me.
Shit.
Right. And this is the chat. We haven't seen any of them. Like, well, we're going to toss a coin.
Yeah.
Well, although, let's be honest with ourselves, as stressful as this is going to be, it's going up against Clerks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, let's see if anyone has any.
We've just got a live chat. Thank you, Kieran, just laughing at us. We knew this was going to happen at some point. Yeah. I honestly, when Tim said it earlier, I was like, you know what? This might be one of the harder ones to pick. I had that little thing in my brain that was like, shit, this is going to be the one, isn't it? This is going to be the one that triggers the...
Would it help to tip either of you that Jersey Girl has a brilliant soundtrack? Like the soundtrack of Jersey Girl is great, and the soundtrack for Red State is not.
Jersey Girl was out there hating cats way back in like 2001. It was 20 years ahead of us.
It was, yeah, absolutely. And also the performance of Sweeney Todd is better than Johnny Depp's performance. So that's another thing in Jersey Girl's favour.
Good lord. We're getting some votes in from the chat. Some interesting ones. As rightly as you said, Matt, I haven't seen either one, so I can toss a coin if you want. Brilliant. Thanks, Canis. James Fraser votes for Red State. We've got iGirl, so Jersey Girl, I assume. A vote for Jersey Girl there. Perhaps one of the worst reasons to vote for something. My avatar is a red dinosaur, therefore Red State. So, yep. Okay, not like I prefer this film or like anything like that.
That's how people vote in polling booths as well.
Seriously, yeah. Oh, his name's like my name or something like that. Oh, he's a God.
Yeah.
And then of course Xenos. I'm gonna go vote for Red State because I don't like wearing jerseys. Okay, yeah, I mean it's the when it was released in England, I think it was called Jumper Girl, wasn't it? So that's probably why.
No, it was called Guernsey Girl.
What about a cow?
Well done, very well done.
I think in terms of legitimate votes, I think Jersey Girl gets it there.
Yeah, we've had legit vote for Red State, legit vote for iGirl, which I'm taking as Jersey Girl, and a legit vote for Jersey Girl there as well.
We're not invalidating anybody there. We're just saying from we appreciate it, but also right.
As soon as
so
you say I haven't seen either one, you do kind of invalidate yourself if it comes down to that.
So yeah, there we go. Jersey Girl's through.
Jersey Girl's through.
That's one. That's one discussion.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, okay. This will be easier then, at least.
This is an easier discussion, surely.
Yeah, yoga hoses.
Yoga hoses in 2016. I'm going to go straight into the Rotten Tomatoes here because it's 23% with an audience score of 35%. And as you can tell by that, the young lady on the left is in fact Harley Quinn Smith, Kevin Smith's daughter. She's going to pop up a few times here as well. And going all the way back to 1997 for Chasing Amy, 87% for Chasing Amy with an audience score of 83%.
So
considerably easier, I would think, because I'm not saying Yoga Hosers is the worst film Kevin Smith has ever made, but it might be the worst film Kevin Smith has ever made.
I can. It's the worst film Kevin Smith's ever made.
It's the worst. It's the worst.
Yeah. I mean,
oh god, it's
go on, Tim.
Just
are we going to unleash Angry Tim again?
No, it's more sad, Tim.
Sad
it's
Tim.
despondent because I think like I'm going to talk about Chasing Amy before Yoga goes, because Chasing Amy has aged poorly, obviously, but I still think it's a worthwhile film. I still think he's saying interesting things. It's a film that should come with like a 20-minute like film ahead of it discussing how like LGBT representation and stuff has changed since then. You should have to watch like a little preview before and then go into the actual film.
Kevin Smith has done that on stage and in podcasts multiple times, so you could literally just clip that out from his stage show and put it on there. So.
And in the Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
Well, yes, that as well. Yeah.
But I still think it's an interesting film, and I think like in a way it's a shame that he kind of used the lens of like, oh, my girlfriend's a lesbian or bisexual, kind of however you want to term it in the film, when it was more about him dealing with kind of inadequacies over like, my girlfriend's kind of like more sexually experienced than I am. If you read into the kind of the what was going on in the filmmaking and what it was about and stuff like that, because I think that's it would be a cleaner film, probably a less interesting film, but a cleaner film if it was just dealing with that kind of stuff. But yeah, I still think it's a good film. I think there's some excellently written parts of it. Yoga Hosers is just like, it feels like they just made it by like throwing darts at a wall. Or made it by accident.
Far off.
You're not far off.
It's so like it's Tusk is. We haven't got to Tusk yet, but like, who watched Tusk and was like, oh, you know what we need more of? We need those convenience store girls. Like, they're the breakout characters of this film.
Yeah, this is it's a spin-off from Tusk. That's how like obscure and weird this film is.
So there's supposed to be three. So there's supposed to be a third one as well. And they're a trilogy devised from the podcast. Where essentially they thought, wouldn't it be great if we got really, really, really stoned and came up with some ideas for movies? And it turns out you get some very weird ideas.
You get some weird ideas and then you workshop them. You just don't just say, and we're not going to deviate once.
Yeah.
That was a furious idea. Okay,
And it turns out miniature Nazis that are made out of sausages and dressed as Mounties is where you get.
Oh God!
We have a perfect comment here from Tim. By the way, Brazzies are Nazis that are small Warpwursts. Yeah, there you go.
Accurate. Played by Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
So, Chasing Amy is, again, like everything for the prism of at the time of its time, period of time, blah, blah, blah. It was very bold and good and was having a conversation, yes, through the prism of a male gaze and a lens. And it was the wrong thing to spin it on, but it still had a conversation. And that was something. It was well acted. It was well shot, arguably. It was challenging in its own ways. It was funny and it did the right stuff. And it showed a maturity coming off the back of Mallrats. I was like, wow, this is a very sincere film. And yes, obviously things are more problematic the further you get from it. But that's the thing. It still didn't start the conversation. You know what I mean? Sorry, I don't give him that much credit, but you know what I mean? It was, for a lot of people, it started the conversation and became a sort of brash. Yeah. And that's cool. That's good. So it has a definite place in terms of, that's why I was surprised it wasn't somewhat higher. If there had been another movie on this list and the bracket had all filled out nicely, this would have been the fourth one, I think, in terms of the top four, as it were. So it's still heralded. It's still important for a lot of people. He did one of his Kevin Smith live things way back in the early 2000s, and I think this lesbian lady was saying, like, the problem with that movie is that it just feels like, they make a joke about, all lesbian needs is one good dick, and then
one good
that
guy,
was actual, and that was actually the actual plot of the film, and someone goes, boo. Said, no, don't you boo her, let her speak, that she's right, you're right. And he's acknowledging that it's got faults, and that's something as a creator taking that kind of criticism is good. Moving away from that for a second, doing the podcast, getting high, as I said before, this modcast stuff, and just doing that, his obsession with Canada, because he went obviously to film school there, and it's so fascinating how much he loves Canada and gets so much of Canada wrong. The first thing he gets wrong with this is I don't care about the nepotism. I don't care that it's Harley Quinn Smith and Lily Rose Depp. If those who don't know, that's Johnny Depp's daughter.
That's Johnny Depp's daughter.
Johnny Depp is also in the film as he's also in Tusk.
As the guy from his weird detective cartoon characters.
And it's genuinely the worst thing in both movies, right?
Very much so.
We could agree on that.
I would say
he's worse than the Bratwurst Nazis.
Yeah. Weirdly enough. So them doing basically the sort of symbolic replacement and becoming the new Randall and Dante in a strange way as teenagers, I'm okay with that. That literally is fine. What I have a problem with, weirdly, is that there's one Canadian in this movie set in Canada, and all the actors are American / French in Depp's case. But I'm like, that just feels kind of wrong. And it's the worst that we talk about this in our accents episode, the whole sorry about that, eh? And it's like, no, stop. It's literally it would be the equivalent of, and let's face it, we've seen this quite a lot. Our film's set in Dublin. I love the Irish. To be sure, Picara! And it's like, fucking hell, who did you get in this thing? We got Jason Statham as your good old Irishman. Like, great.
Yeah.
Who's his love interest? Jennifer Lawrence. Great. Nailed it.
Yeah. It was supposed to be the Canadian trilogy, as we hinted at earlier, and as James Fraser has correctly commented here. Moose Jaws was the third film.
Is Moose Jaws still happening, do we think?
No,
I really hope so.
It's out there. It's being made right after he makes, what is it, Ranger Danger and the Stranger Rangers or whatever.
Yeah.
The number of abandoned Kevin Smith projects probably equals the number of films he's actually made.
Oh, almost certainly.
Fair, entirely fair. I would say that the frustration with Yoga Hosers for me, other than I was very angry by the reboot. We'll come back to that later for the Jay and Silent Bob reboot. But Yoga Hosers made me so frustrated because it's a 2016 movie. And it feels like just before he shot this, or maybe even during while editing, he watched Scott Pilgrim and said, that's cool. I want to do that.
He does fucking love Scott Pilgrim. He has talked about that before.
Oh, well, that makes complete sense then.
Yeah.
So, obviously there's a band and there's kids playing in the back of the shop and they close it up and all that stuff, whatever. And then you have things like every time a character's introduced, I do this in like my web series, but that's because it's going to be like a live action cartoon and it's very silly and doesn't interrupt the flow. It's almost like they didn't stop to do character walks in, pause, pose, thing comes up on screen, who they are, what their attributes are. It just freezes it awkwardly mid-step, like, hey guys, too much information, can't really process it. So the shop is still open. It's like, what the fuck is this? No, I haven't had to process any of that crap. This doesn't feel like it fits in this world. It doesn't feel like, other than those little inserts, it doesn't work. So Yoga Hosers is so weird. And I should be here. I mean, we'll come back to this later when we get to Tusk, because I think there are, and Red State as well, earlier, which was like, yeah, be weird. Fuck it. Do what you want. But Yoga Hosers is a slog. I made my wife watch Yoga Hosers and then Jay and Silent Bob Reboot as a double bill. She was not happy.
I still don't know why your wife stays with you, Matt, when you torture her with things like that. My God.
This beautiful face. Such an appealing, alluring thing. No. But basically, yeah, and it was just literally, and she understands now. I'm like, oh, we're gonna watch this film, and it's like, oh yeah. So you'll really like this. I know what to do. It's like, okay, great. Or when you talk about we need to watch this film. Why? I want to talk about it. And it's like, oh fucking hell. So
Oh no.
Em knows it's to watch the movie and then have a 2-hour conversation. But she's so angry at that point that she's up for the conversation. It's good. So yeah, Yoko's. I don't mind the nepotism. I don't mind certain aspects. I don't mind the weirdness. I think that just none of it works.
I think I'm a little weird here in the fact that I probably like Yoga Hosers a little more than everyone else and Chasing Amy a bit less than everyone else.
Interesting.
And that's by no means to say that I think Yoga Hosers is a good movie. I think it's definitely the worst movie here. However,
it ends up in the final. How do we get here, Rich?
I do kind of I like the surreal oddness. I just like it. I just think it's funny, and some of the stuff is fun. You're right. You're absolutely right. Most of it is jarring and feels completely like odd, but I kind of like the madness of it. And yeah, I mean, again, it's a shame we don't have Dave on here because Dave's wife is Canadian, so we could kind of get some of the feelings about the weird not Canadianness of this film.
Yeah.
And Chasing Amy as well. I think I probably like it a bit less because I think I saw it in about 2003 when I first started university and learning about film, and I was reading a lot about the male gaze and Laura Mulvey and learning about women in cinema, and then watching this film and going, hang on a minute, all of this is not right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is because Chasing Amy is one I missed out. So I watched Clerks and I watched Mallrats and I watched Dogma. And Chasing Amy, and everyone was like, "Oh, you need to watch it. It's really good." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." And I'd come to it, and I was like, I've got time. I'm a student now. I have time on my hands." And I'm going to watch it and thinking, "Oh, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't. this doesn't feel like a good thing." So, I think Chasing Amy is my least favorite of those kind of early movies. But yeah, it's probably still better than Yoga Hosers. Let's be honest.
Chasing Amy comes with a huge asterisk.
Very much so.
if you watch it now. I think like Yoga Hosers for me, one of the things that's so frustrating is if you look back at films like Mallrats and Clerks, Kevin Smith was so good at capturing not necessarily what like high schoolers are like in those films, but kind of young people, because he wrote them more or less as people. Like he didn't focus on being like, oh, they're teenagers. And I think the descent into inequality as he became a dad and stuff like that is more it's correlation, not causation.
Yes,
but
definitely.
this feels, Yoga Hosers feels like teenagers written by a dad.
Yeah,
literally
entirely.
is.
And it's like just write them as like why it feels like a live action cartoon, but not in a good way, I think is the thing.
Yep.
It's like you already write arguably very immature characters. Just write them like you would write Randall and Dante. Just be less annoyed because of like, we should be out of here by now. I mean, yeah, just say the same thing, but rather than saying we're in our 50s, we should be out of here by now, just change that to I'm 25. I should be. I mean, because that's the thing about Clerks, which we'll come back to later. The amazing, and it's true hey, children listening, when you're young, you think to yourself that, oh my God, I'm 18. I've already experienced everything there is to experience in life.
I'm an adult. Like, what's left to do in the world?
Yeah. It's like all the mistakes I think you'll find is the answer. But yes, it's again, it's the fact it's just write it like you would any other character in anything else you're doing, and I swear to God, it'll still feel like a teenager because that's how you write. And if anything, you are hampering yourself.
Absolutely. I'm 40 years old and I often feel like I'm 20. And it's not until I spend time with 20-year-olds that I realise I'm 40.
Yeah.
and that's exactly the thing. I mean, Kevin Smith is was brilliant at writing that about banality and about, that when you're a teenager and you work in a crappy little shop and you live for doing something else. He was great at that, but he's not that person anymore. And his films need to grow beyond that. He can't write parts for his daughter in the same way. He is grown as a person. He has to make movies that have also grown. And I think that's what's missing.
Yeah. Yep. I think every time he tries it, there's backlash and he goes, well, I won't do that then.
Yeah.
And that's what's sad, really, isn't it? That's the shame.
That is the tragedy. That's a tragedy. That's a tragedy.
You get ground down with that kind of stuff, don't you? Let's get to the vote. We're starting with you, Matt. I think it's fairly obvious what you're going to pick.
Oh, yeah, voting. Chasing Amy's.
Yeah.
Plural for some reason. I know Amy's.
All the Amy's.
I looked at Chasing Amy. I looked down to the yoga hoses. Chasing Amy's. Chasing Amy. Tim.
Hosing Amy. Wait, no, Chasing Amy.
Chasing Amy for me too. With an asterisk on yoga hoses too, just to say that on my sliding, what I now call my Alien vs Predator 2 scale, having had to watch that as part of my podcast, Unequal Sequel, it's better than Alien vs Predator 2, which is sort of my standard. Anything below that is
anything better than AVP2 Requiem. Fucking hell.
Yeah. There's only been one thing worse. Two. I've had two films worse than AVP2. One of those is Batman and Robin, and the other ones I can't mention because it's not on the podcast till next week.
Exciting.
Unfortunately, we've experienced things that are much worse than AVP Requiem. Son of the Mask comes to mind as the golden ticket for the worst sequel ever made.
Yeah. I've not seen Son of the Mask, but Matt, you talked about it when you're on, and I'm not gonna.
Jack, I assume it's a moot point, but are you going to vote Chasing Amy?
Certainly am. Chasing Amy for me.
Let's make it official. Boop. Okay. Moving to...
Before we move on, General Pandemonium. AVP2 is so dark, I'm not sure anyone can truly say they've watched it.
That's very true.
The lighting and cinematography in that film is fucking awful. Yeah, to say the least.
Okay.
I also want to highlight Xenos' comment there about Chasing Amy yoga hoses fits to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Chasing Amy yoga hoses. Chasing Amy yoga hoses.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Xenos.
Yes.
Right, we now have 1995's Mallrats, his first actual film, allegedly, but 2014's Husk. Now, I say that because when he did Mallrats, said, "Wow, you made a movie now," and he said, "I made a movie. It's called Clerks." And of course, the classic reaction from the industry was, "That's not a movie."
Yeah.
And no one remembers Mallrats now, other than like, "Oh my God, you had a Stan Lee cameo before it was cool."
Yeah, exactly. And then
Tusk
they referenced it in Captain Marvel.
Yes,
of course they did.
And Tusk is about an old sailor.
That's another one of the podcast. Yeah, you can tell that's part of the podcast trilogy because the main character is a podcaster.
Yeah,
he's doing a Stephen King. What's his main character going to be? Tortured novelist. How about that? Brilliant. Thanks, Stephen. Well done. Yeah, really inventive.
He looks around the room for inspiration, catches his own reflection, and goes, "Yeah, that's right."
Yeah. Where's he going to be from? I think Maine. Maybe he should be a tortured novelist in Maine. Like, yeah, brilliant idea. Anyway,
it was actually about Stephen King himself. Yeah, no fucking shit.
Anyway, as you said, 1995's Mallrats has a 57% on the tomatometer. And this is where we get into Kevin Smith interesting stuff, an audience score of 82%. considerably higher.
Holy shit!
Oh, we'll get to that, Matt, because there's a couple more examples of that as well. Tusk has a tomatometer, and sorry, was out in 2014, has a tomatometer score of 45% with an audience score of 36%. So actually lower on the audience score for Tusk as well. Which I think is a bit harsh. I think that's a bit
really harsh. I think that's really harsh.
Interesting. Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah. And the fact that they're 12% apart in the tomatometer score, but 50% apart in the audience score is such an interesting, weird combination for these movies.
Speaking of which, this one was distributed by A24, wasn't it?
Tusk is an A24 movie, exactly,
Yeah.
as we were talking about, yeah.
Okay, what do we do with this? Right, Mallrats is fascinating because it's...
Oh, before you get on, Matt, there's a couple of comments here.
Please.
Xenos asks, is Tusk the one where someone gets sewn into a walrus suit? I vaguely remember hearing something about that a while ago. And then General Pandemonium replies, yes, look at the image. It's like, yeah, that is a guy in a walrus suit right there.
And then what does it end with?
A little worse than sewed into a walrus suit. It's like he's literally made into a walrus, but using his own body parts, essentially.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's horrible.
That's horrifying. Get rid of it.
It's very much horrifying. It's very much a horror movie, but it's
going to go to the finale.
And
fun.
Michael Parks is back once again, as we said earlier.
Yes. Yeah. So Mallrats is fascinating because it's him doing a studio film with his sort of flair on it. It's very much it's basically Clerks but bigger. It's not one shop, it's a mall. And it's the same principle, same cool conversations. It's him talking about comic stuff. The fact that there's so many weird, it's a time capsule piece. There's so many explainer bits. So it's like what are you Weapon X Logan? No, Wolverine, Shnickety-Shnick. And then, Brody turns and explains who Wolverine is, obviously to his friend, but also to TS, but to the audience as well, because they're not going to know who Wolverine is. I better explain. Whereas now, literally 5-6 years later, we had the first X-Men film and everyone knew who Wolverine was. But by that point, comics were not cool. And people having Stan Lee in there didn't mean anything in terms of for the audience.
Yeah, this is before Blade, before Spider-Man, before X-Men. This is pre the big kind of comic book on big screen explosion that we now know carrying on through DC and the MCU and all that kind of stuff as well. Yeah,
the big thing was you had Shannon Doherty from feckin' was it 90210 that she was in?
Beverly Hills 90210.
Yeah, and Heathers, which is an amazing film. So that was the big get. I think she might be top billed in that movie for that reason, because obviously
she is indeed.
Jason Lee was a skateboarder, not an actor. So
some say he still is.
I think after My Name Is Earl, he's definitely earned that credit. So there's lots of interesting things in here. Rooker's in it as well. There's lots of and Ben Affleck turning up, a young early Ben Affleck. Lots of really interesting stuff. But the problem is that it's such a weird one. It speaks to a generation of people who are sort of not necessarily stoners per se, but that's that sort of like I just want to play video games and read comics. And why doesn't my girlfriend? It kind of goes for the chasing Amy thing, that sort of sexual inadequacy of I've got some strong opinions, ideas, and I'll win this girl back with arrogance and 90s bullshitness. But it felt at least quite earnest and sincere, and took in a lot of references and blah blah blah. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. Very heavily play on catchphrases, and that kid is back on the escalator again. There's dumb shit observational humor. It's fun. It's good in that regard. Inoffensive, and it brings Jay and Silent Bob into a much, rather than literally being horribly offensive and aggressive drug dealers. I fuck anything that moves. To just being these fun, playful,
they're
cartoon
rascals.
Dickheads. They are. They're really PG-ified, and it kind of works for them in that regard. There's a perfect middle ground, which we'll get to later. But this, it's a good harmony for them. So it's an interesting piece.
The sort of people you'd buy weed from in real life. Nobody bought weed from gangsters in real life. You bought it from stoners who hang around shops. This is
it's that earnestness to it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely more my said more to me than most movies I'd seen. And I think that's
the thing is that
That's very true.
Yeah.
There's an excellent quote. A lot of people say it was like, I had not seen anyone talk about comic books on screen before. Like knowing that there are other people out there in a similar way to Clerks, and like, oh my god, this counts as a movie. I can do that kind of thing. There was this moment where it's just people talking about comic books for 90 minutes. You're like, wait a minute.
It's for me. It's this and Spaced. And that was kind of it.
Yeah.
That was my, there are people like me out there.
Yeah, I remember there was a behind-the-scenes thing that Edgar Wright was talking about where he was talking about Spaced and saying about how... And I took it very personally at the time because I was a fucking teenager. But he basically said, oh yeah, there's, we focus on these individuals who have so much pop culture in their lives and they depend on it and they can't exist outside of it. And I was like, fuck you. And then I realized... Oh wait, no, that's painfully accurate. Oh no. But yes, because again, the nature of like, if Batman is bad, that ends my life. It's like, actually, it doesn't matter if it's bad. There's still a good Batman. Grant Morrison's right. It's all fiction and all. I always have the old ones I can go back to. So what's the problem? I say this, we still have a podcast, or we get angry. But the point is that it's when you see yourself almost represented in like, oh shit, I know these kind of people, and then it's like, yeah, they're all dumb assholes and they're idiots. It's like, no, I'm not. So yeah, Mallrats is a caper. It's a silly film, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Tusk, I see nothing of myself in, and that's good.
See, I remember loving Mallrats back in the day, so to speak. And what's the line of like, you think just because a guy reads comic books, he can't start some shit? I was like, yeah, that's awesome. But I think almost more than like Chasing Amy has to come with a huge footnote, but it kind of did at the time already. Like, I think Mallrats has kind of aged worse than Chasing Amy did, even though it doesn't have the kind of the political side to it, quote unquote political side to it.
It does have some incelliness to it.
Yeah, I just it's very interesting because it came out like it was when Hollywood kind of didn't really know how to make this kind of broad sort of R-rated comedy film for teens. It came before American Pie and that kind of spree of films, and I think it was them trying to like feel their way towards that in a way, and seeing Smith and being like, oh, this guy understands what kids like. Let's put him in it, and he.
You can write all Gen X comedies. Oh,
yeah. And because he was still finding his way as a filmmaker and also has a very distinctive voice, they were kind of like, it's a weird halfway house between like a Kevin Smith film and the film that they were trying to kind of feel their way towards, like, how are we going to capture this youth audience kind of thing. And I think, I think there's bits in it that are still very funny, but like, it's kind of Kevin Smith at not as his broadest, because that's stuff like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, but like, there's a lot of very broad humor in there, and I think there's less of the really good dialogue compared to Clerks and Chasing Amy. That said, I still massively prefer it to Tusk, which I just like. Tusk is a film I hate it so much.
Oh wow.
Wow.
I just don't like it. Feels it's up there with stuff like the Human Centipede, where I'm like, I don't know why you would choose to make this.
To quote somebody from the live chat, Tim, I'm not having Tusk at all.
Yes, I'm right there. I'm right there.
You agree with James
you,
Wilson,
James.
it seems.
Like, I don't want to watch a film where that happens, and now I have, and I didn't enjoy any of it.
Yeah, I've seen worse.
I can totally understand why you feel that way, and I totally understand why Tusk is like. I hate when people say it's a Marmite film, because I always find Marmite's a bit average. It's all right.
I'm the same way.
I don't love it or hate it.
Yeah, I'm like, Marmite's fine. That's how I feel about Marmite.
But I think Tusk is going to be a movie where you go, I really like this, or I really, really hate this. Mm-hmm. And I kind of fall on the like side. It feels like if the Mighty Boosh made a horror movie, you know, like that's.
Christ.
I get that.
I quite like it.
I'm actually a bit of a similar defender. Actually, I think Tusk is fine. I would say as a creative thing, the way it's framed, the way it's shot, and that darkness, and it's all very creepy and boxed in and stuff. Obviously, the character Justin Long playing as a prick, and therefore I have no empathy with him. And therefore, when bad things happen, I'm like, yeah, fuck him, I don't care. His podcast, like, I'm a shock jock. Look at me, it's like, I don't give a shit, mate. You probably deserve it, but and Parker's just hilarious, and how ridiculous he is as an awful person. I think if this was more, I mean, like really more lenient to Grindhouse, not an A24 sort of, you know, an actually well-made film, but more Grindhouse, like Rob Zombie made this film. I think it'd be much more entertaining in how unapologetically batshit it would be, and more painful to watch. I'm all like, oh god, oh, it's so grisly. More Grindhouse. That would benefit from that, but because it's a slow contemplative piece, where, if I'm honest, other than like, and a bit of that every now and again, not a lot happens in it. It's actually quite slow, but I think it's okay. I think it's okay, but only because, again, as I said, I've seen a lot fucking worse from body horror stuff, and it's quite tame by comparison to what I've seen. And for Kevin Smith, it's a different film. I'm like, yeah, that's all right. I mean, again, I don't need to watch it really ever again. I've watched it 3 times now, I think. And
God,
yeah,
his idea of hell.
Yeah, I tend to watch it like on release, and then I'll watch it as like, if this is like my Halloween film festival watched at October, I'll watch horror films on my wife hadn't seen, so we'll watch it and then have a conversation about it. And then I'll watch it again. And yeah, I think I don't need to really see him. And again, really, I'm fine.
No,
it doesn't
I would
do
imagine
enough.
3 is enough. Three's the limit.
3 is enough. Yeah, if you've bitten into a shit sandwich, but think to yourself, is there anything here? Well, the bread is the bread. No, I've had enough of this now. I've eaten too much for a refund. No, I might as well finish it. But yes, I think it's a well constructed movie, but one that could have done with a genuinely heavy edit in the scripting phase, like really draft it up much better. And to be honest with you, someone else directing it.
Fair.
Ooh.
Should we get on to the vote then?
Let's do it. It's Tim up first, I believe.
Tim's up first.
Yeah, despite my issues with Mallrats, I'm going with Mallrats because, yeah.
Fair.
Tusk ruined a perfectly good Fleetwood Mac song for me.
Is there any worse cardinal sin than ruining a Fleetwood Mac song for you?
God damn.
Oh dear. I think despite not finding Tusk, actually almost slightly enjoying Tusk, which I don't think you're supposed to do, it's Mallrats purely for nostalgia, because
Fair.
I feel exactly the same way as you, Rich. Yeah, I actually quite like Tusk. I thought Tusk was fine when I watched it. I don't have the hatred that Tim has, but I have a fair amount of nostalgia for Mallrats. So yeah, Mallrats for me.
Similarly, not that it's necessarily important, but I would vote Mallrats as well. I think Tusk is an interesting experiment, but Mallrats, yes, so Tim says problematic, but yeah, it's a thing I remember in my past enjoying and stuff. So that goes through. Yay! That means we now have one side flush.
One side complete.
Okay. Let's get to the other side. Pew. Oh, fuck. This is a weird one.
So we're starting off with Zack and Miri Make a Porno from 2008. It is 65% on the tomatometer and 66% on the audience score. And then to the most recent of Kevin Smith's directorial features, shall we say, also 66% on the tomatometer. And here's where you're going to get annoyed, Matt. 93% on the audience score.
Fuck all the way off back into the bin you crawled out of, you freaks.
I warned you it was coming. That there is one where the audience
bad.
The audience score. The audience score.
Oh my god.
93%.
Oh my god.
Now, bear in mind, just in case it's your first time listening to the show or watching us here on the live stream or anything like that, Rotten Tomatoes, that is the percentage of people that gave it a 6 out of 10 or more. It is a positive review, quote unquote, in terms of Rotten Tomatoes. That is not, it is a 93% out of 100% good movie. Like, that is, it's 93% at least okay, basically. But still, that is a fucking high score.
Yeah, it's also shifting sands. These scores change over time. It's corrected time recording, blah, blah, blah. And also we appreciate that, as we've discovered through our own show, sometimes Rotten Tomatoes will link you to the wrong movie review. It's like, who gave us a positive review? This one, but they're talking about a football movie. Oh, they actually hate this movie. Well, why the fuck is it a positive? That was
good.
I think this says a lot about Kevin Smith fans, right? Is that we just really fucking love Kevin Smith, and we really love the world he creates, and so we really love the stuff he makes, and whether it's critically good or not is kind of beyond, it doesn't matter. We just want to see the same. We just want to see Jay and Silent Bob again, and we just want to see him again and again and again and again, and that is fine, and we will be happy with that. And we'll give it a 6 out of 10 on Rotten Tomatoes.
It sums up, exactly. People who are diehard Kevin Smith fans probably give this like a 7 or an 8 or whatever it is. Like, I enjoyed it. It's just got all my favorites in. And I think Harley Quinn Smith is actually really good in this movie. I mean, I think she's one of the best performances in the film.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
it's like, and tying back, like I said, she plays a young Jay. She is now Jay's daughter in this one. And it's like, that's a clever way of introducing, tying her to the Jay and Silent Bob characters without her literally being Kevin Smith's daughter. She's actually Jay's daughter. Oh, there's a little twist on it.
I mean, Jason Mewes' real daughter is also in this film.
Jason Mewes' daughter is also in this film, yeah. As are both of their wives and all of their mates. And just Kevin Smith literally
love it.
He literally has sex with his own wife in a toilet in this movie. For seemingly no reason, apart from the fact that she is his real life wife. That's like, yep, that's the thing that's happening. And there's maybe the most turn and wink to camera moments I've ever experienced in 90 minutes. Everything Ben Affleck says, where he literally will go like blah 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 blah.
It's I'm now. You think you're Bruce Wayne, but you're not. You're Thomas Wayne, or his mum, whatever her name was. I think I've forgotten it.
That's a good joke. That's a really good joke.
That's the thing, yeah.
If you don't do the turn to camera for 8 seconds following it.
Yeah.
And it's shit like that that really annoyed me about that film, because there's so much to like about it that I tried to like about it. And then with almost every positive, there was some weird, okay, now you're just wanking. Like, this is just masturbatory.
The problem is with Reboot is that it feels like where previous films you had Kevin Smith referencing pop culture, it's like his lens of pop culture has narrowed to his own movies. Which obviously it's not fully true, because there's still jokes about other stuff, but so many characters just show up and it's like they're not saying jokes, they're saying things that they said previously, and then the audience is meant to recognize that as a joke. It's like this feels like tarring it with far too heavy a brush, but it feels almost akin to the Big Bang Theory school of we're gonna have them say some weird science stuff and then we'll pause and put a laugh in, and it's just it's having fucking Ben Affleck show up and say the line that he did in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and stuff like that, and it's like, yes, we get it. We've also seen your previous films, Kevin Smith. That's why we're watching Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
And if you haven't seen his previous films, I think this film probably doesn't work at all. So
it would be like going into Endgame with no previous films.
Yeah. You're like, Avengers assemble, and you're like, who are the Avengers? What are you talking about? Who's that guy? Why is he holding? What's the hammer?
Why did someone else pick the hammer up? Why does he do it? Why did someone else get us? Yeah.
Can anyone pick up the hammer? I don't understand.
No. Why is this hammer so special? It's small. It's the fact that. Okay, so I'm going to be so hypocritical later when we come back to Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, but I remember for Jay and Silent Bob reboot, at the start, I was so angry. so furious and so angry about how bad it was written, how bad it was edited, how bad it was shot. The fact that like, this is my daughter, Millennium Falcon, and it's like, you didn't even go with a name from Star Wars. You went with the fucking ship.
Yeah,
Doesn't make, it's not a joke. That's again, that's a big bang joke. It's like, oh, well, that didn't happen in He-Man. Ha 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 ha. He thinks He-Man is real. It's like, no, that's not a joke. That's a sentence.
Yeah.
And it's like, I named my daughter Millennium Falcon. It's like, can you legally do that? That sounds stupid. It's like, if you call, what do you call my daughter Greedo? It's like, why would you do that? It's like, yeah, that's an in joke. But then also, as you say, like, the scene.
This is my daughter Zuckus and Forlom. Wait, you named her after two characters?
It's the fact that
my two sons, Dexter and Jetster.
It's with regards to like I'm trying to remember just Brody. Brody's character comes back and does the exact same, and not just the exact same jokes, the same beats as Tim said. It's the in Jay and Silent Bob Straight Back. And with that, gentlemen, we cue the music. Map. Well, that's a silly bit of a riff, but they're clearly friends. That works. And they do it again with absolutely zero change. Same framing, same shot, effectively in reboot.
Yep.
And like, you have ways as a filmmaker of doing that, and they do it with like Ben Affleck's character from Chasing Amy, which is Holden McNeil, and he has the Chasing Amy score comes in, and you're like, that's a leitmotif, ladies and gentlemen. That's musical notes that gives you a clue that it's from the film. So you instinctively, if you know that, go, fuck, it's all clicking. And so, for example, in like Star Wars, when you hear Leia's theme, you go, shit, I know what's going on here. That kind of thing. It plays with your emotions in that way. He does that, and then he says, looks like someone's shitting their cereal, bong, and it's like, yes, okay, that's from the, yeah, okay. And then he references and it's but then having said that, by the end of the movie, there is a strange earnestness to what he is saying about the next generation of filmmakers, and it almost forgives him this whole like nepotism stuff, and he's talking about the nature of like, you're going to have to deal with the fact that the next wave of people is going to be people of color, and they're going to be female, and you know, various marginalized communities, and that's cool. We should be excited for that. And that's the transition the characters take, and I like that. That's good. It's just trash, however, and it's so frustrating. There are really good messages in this piss poor movie, and it's so
you mean this 93% audience score movie, Matt? I think you'll find.
Fuck you. No, it makes me so angry because again, I like the effort. The reach exceeded the grasp, and that's fine. And he was trying, but it's still so stupid. Even like a scene I really love in Jay and Silent Bob Straight Back is the goes into movies. Well, he goes whatever it is, and then he goes, oh, nice. Does it again this one, and it doesn't make any sense why it's funny again. Then he goes over to like, oh, look, the internet. Back in the day when the internet was new. Let's go see if those, people on moviepoopshoot.com and talk about us. And it's like, oh, they think it's us. Write what I'm saying. You are the ball lickers. We're going to make you eat our shit. And then it cuts back to this beautiful, like, wider shot to emphasize that everyone's trying to eat their food. And they're just very, very off to the side saying, we're going to make you shit our shit. But, it's... So they do the exact same thing again, the same joke, but the framing isn't done the same way. So just there's like, oh yeah, they're just being obnoxious to the side, and the delivery doesn't sound right, and it's just like, yeah, this isn't working. I mean, I knew from the introduction to Jay and Silent Bob Reboot where Jay runs out is that he runs out of this chicken shop. It's as a weed front. I knew within 3 or 4 seconds he'd do the fucking Silence of the Lambs bit of taking his clothes off and tucking his dick back, and what is it? Wild Horses plots that's playing in the background. I'm like, I knew it was coming. It was disorientating in Clerks. Like, oh shit, that's weird. That's what the fuck. But it made sense. Him just doing it again is like, remember this, everybody, and we all go, yeah, I do. 93%.
I'm split in half 50-50 with this movie. I really am, because half of me thinks, I love seeing all this stuff again. I'm one of those people going, yay, again. But I also have this critical hat on that goes, all of this is just everything you hate. Why? When we talk about sequels on the podcast, it's the thing that I hate the most is when sequels come back 20, 30 years after the original and recite all the same fucking jokes all over and over and over again. And I'm looking at you, Eddie Murphy. And that's critically, I really hate that. But then there's another part, that's the other side of my brain that goes, yeah, but that's what Kevin Smith wants to do, because he's making a comment about reboots and about how stupid reboots are. And he's made this movie as a reboot to show you that reboots are stupid. And I was like, and then he's genius, because that's why he's done all the shots shot for shot, all the good bits shot for shot, and done all the things again, but not quite as good. It's to show you that reboots are the same thing over and over again, but not quite as good, and we're getting diminishing returns from all these movies that just make old movies again.
And they literally talk about that in the movie. Like, that's the whole topic of the film is like, well, yeah, we're just redoing this again. They're doing our thing again and rebooting us. It's like, yep, we're watching,
and that's it. And is that the comment? Is it cleverer than I'm giving it credit for? But then also the other half of me is going, stop doing it! Stop it!
The problem is, if you make an intentionally bad film, you've still made a bad film.
True. This is true.
Most extreme example is usually, it's good to be self-aware, it's good to be self-deprecating to highlight the flaws with the system. But if you're saying, it's okay because I'm saying things are racist by having this really racist character, I'm like, you've kind of just made a really racist movie.
Hey, Quentin Tarantino, I didn't know you were.
And that's the thing. And Tim's nailed with the whole, like, the bad movie thing. I think it's not as enjoyable.
No,
as
you're right. And
we haven't talked at all about Zack and Miri Make a Porno.
I was just going to say that.
And I think it's interesting because I think there is an interesting kind of dichotomy here where I think Jay and Silent Bob reboot, like, it's not good, but I think there are moments when, like we say, Kevin Smith is trying to say something, and he is trying to say something about pop culture and how it moves and how, like Matt said, about kind of the next generation and stuff like that. But it's all contained in this it's just derivative and nostalgia for the sake of nostalgia kind of stuff. Zack and Miri Make a Porno is, again, it's interesting. It's him essentially kind of realizing that Judd Apatow has come along and sort of made the films that he was making, but much more successfully. And so it's him trying to kind of do that. And I think it's him, again, making an effort to try and be more acceptable to the wider audience, to try and get some new people on board. But I don't think the film is about anything. I haven't rewatched it recently. Like, I kind of watched it a while back. I didn't see it in the cinema. I watched it on DVD or whatever, and I rewatched some bits of it. But I was just like, and kind of reread through the Wikipedia summary to remind myself, and I was like, I don't think there's anything like beyond just the kind of the profundity of like, hey, these two characters love each other, like, and you've done that in other films and probably done it better.
Yeah.
So
it's a very miscast movie, and I'm saying that because both Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks can be and are very, very funny and carry things very well. But it's that classic, Vanessa Hudgens in High School Musical shit, where it's like, oh, I'm such an outsider. No one talks to me. Fuck you. You're one of the best looking people in this school, you dumb bastard. That's not real. It's like, oh, you know what? I've been friends with this woman for so long and we're just mates and we don't see each other in a certain way. It's like, how the fuck don't you see each other in a certain way? I know that's the whole, like, the bit. That, like, you don't realize what's in front of you the whole time until you have to make a pornography film with them. But it's like, yeah. And, oh, you know what? I can talk to this character that Seth Rogen. He's like not like a brother. That's a bit creepy. But, he's so familiar and we are so perfectly suited for each other. And it's like, yeah, I get it, but I don't believe any of it. So what you end up with is a Star Wars parody again with the porn. Yeah. Spoilers, the porn is literally just Star Wars porn. It's like, that's been done so many times, and all the notes they're hitting up. The only thing that was really, really jarring, like hilarious about that was the
Is it the poop,
Oh,
Matthew? You want to talk about the poop?
no,
Okay.
it's the MC. What the hell's his name?
The donkey
Oh.
bit.
No, the there's a fuck me, it's ringing. MC Chris.
Oh, okay.
His song about Boba Fett, and at one point they're all dancing while doing their shoot and stuff, and it cuts to the guy, the sort of very submissive dude playing R2D2, and he's just going. It's like, okay, that's a bit weird. And then it cuts down, his balls are hanging out at the bottom of the R2D2 machine. Like, what the fuck? What is this? And it's just, again, that just jarring bit of silliness. You're like, yeah, okay, that caught me off guard. Well done. I don't expect to see that in like Robot Chicken's Star Wars or the Family Guy Star Wars special. That's different in a way. But mostly it's a remarkably forgettable film.
Yeah. And I think it's a film that is entirely carried by Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks because they are funny, because they have charisma, because and they do have chemistry as well. Like the whole film hinges on their performances, and I forget 99% of the rest of the cast. I'm like, oh yeah, Craig Robinson's in there. He's really funny. He's in that fucking movie. Like,
yeah, being written by Kevin Smith, and his main intro line is the whole like, "Oh, I got a coffee black. Yeah, that'll be $10. White," and it's like. Yeah. That's like, oh God, Spike Lee, watch out, your career's in danger, mate. It's like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I get a joke, it's just dumb.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think, again, I'm not sure I hate the movie as much as any of you, but
I don't hate it.
I think
that's fine.
That's the thing, is that I don't think it's, you're right, you're absolutely hitting there on the head when he's like, it's not memorable. It's a film I was watching. I was like, this is quite nice. I'm quite enjoying watching this movie. It's quite funny.
What I'm learning from you, Rich, is you like nice.
Yeah,
nice
I
is,
do.
Nice is
I do like
is a nice place for you to be.
It is, absolutely. There are far too many gay jokes in it. There are far too many jokes that don't sit well with me. And for 2008, that's probably not acceptable. I think it's still hanging on to his. Yeah, he's still hanging on to kind of some of his old sensibilities. However, Elizabeth Banks is amazing in this movie, and but then she's amazing in every movie. And I would watch her in anything. And Seth Rogen is Seth Rogen, as he is in every movie. Again, he doesn't have to doesn't have to do anything. He's just himself. Yeah, he's like Ryan Reynolds. They are just themselves in every movie.
Pretty much.
And it's watchable. It is watchable. But I watched it today, and I can't think of anything that happened in it now. And it was, I watched it like 4 hours ago.
That is a quick turnaround.
Yeah. and that's how throwaway it is that at least... And I watched Jay and Silent Bob reboot like months ago, and I can still remember what happened in it. I watched Zack and Miri this morning, and I'm like, I don't know.
So to me, it's like, do you remember what you got in Tesco's earlier? No, I don't remember that experience at all. It was very routine and mundane. Do you remember when you had that car crash? Oh, fuck it. I'm never going to forget that.
I also think Zack and Miri make a porno for a film made in 2008. And like Kevin Smith is online. He is not one of these people who's like, I don't understand how the internet works. It feels like it's a kind of mid-90s understanding of pornography, and no... I'm not looking to Zack and Miri make a porno for like a deep, incisive, like documentary style look into how porn exploits people. But like, it's a very weirdly like rose tinted view of the industry that also expects like, really, these people are in 2008 and they expect to make one pornographic film and make a bunch of money off of it. Like, the internet exists. Like, the only people making money off of porn are making money because it's like they are making 200 films a week kind of thing.
It's a battery farm for people. Well, I should point out, it's a really strange parallel. I genuinely just forgive me, people. I really like the 1997 movie Orgasmo. The movie which pitches the idea that there's an orgasmerator where you can shoot someone, they get an orgasm, and the film that they make, the pornography, becomes the highest grossing film of all time. It's stupid. It's really stupid. But for a 1997 Trey Parker, Matt Stone comedy, I'm like, yeah, this is dumb. The Mormon guy who he's really so uncomfortable is in these hardcore pornography films. Hilarious. It's stupid. Because also partly it's trying to aggravate people. It's trying to do something. Zack and Miri, as we said before, just to echo everything we said, it's not really trying to say anything. It's not really trying to do anything. Yeah. It's just an excuse to get these people in a room.
Let's vote, shall we?
Is it
we are already 2 hours into this, and we haven't made it past the first round. We need to crack on. We're going to be here until midnight at this rate. So yeah, Rich, you're up first with the vote.
Oh God. It doesn't matter because it's going to lose next, but I think the reboot. I actually think the reboot, and I feel a little bit wrong saying that. But hey, there we
Matt's
go.
shaking his head. I'm going to vote Zack and Miri. How about you, Matt?
Zack and Miri. Tim, you make this a fucking tie. I'll break your legs.
Bring it on, motherfucker, because I'm actually voting reboot.
Oh my God, Tim! What did I just say? We need to speed up. Fuck me. Oh God.
Oh, okay.
We're never having a guest ever again. You've ruined it. How dare you?
Okay.
Oh God.
Okay.
So audience,
please don't.
It was really close. If that's any help, yeah, I was
no, that's worse.
51 to 49.
That's a fucking Brexit vote right there.
It is, yeah.
Oh,
Christ! Right, see what people are saying.
Nothing so far. That was a while ago, but have they even talked about Zack and Miri? No, we haven't. We spent 40 minutes talking about reboot. Tim also didn't realize Kevin Smith made Zack and Miri, which also doesn't help.
That's because it feels like a Judd Apatow film. That's why.
It does, yeah. I vote Zack and Miri because I've had enough of reboots. I don't think I can give an opinion on here, even as a joke. Brilliant. Thanks, Enos. One vote for Zack and Miri.
I mean, that does end the tie. As long as no one else found votes the other way,
Yeah.
we're okay.
Well,
we can decide when the deadline is, and if the deadline's now, then
I saw it came in.
And I vote for Jurassic Park again. No, you cannot. But
I mean, if you're choosing between, if you're sitting down and going, should I watch Zack and Miri make a porno or Jay and Silent Bob reboot? Yes, watch Jurassic Park.
Fuck, we're tied again. I'm going to vote reboot because I didn't know Zack and Miri was a Smith movie. That's not how that works. Oh no. I remember when I contacted Rich for this, like, hey man, great to get to know you. I know I haven't been on the show, but you know, I've listened to your podcast and stuff. Would you be interested in joining us on the live stream?
So sorry.
It's probably going to be like 2 hours long. You know, we usually like 2.5, that kind of stuff. We're not even past the first round yet, and then we're over 2 hours in.
As we know, things once you get past it, it gets very fast. It goes.
I am expecting choppy fucking decisions from now on, gentlemen. Let's keep things going. That also doesn't help. Porn reboot also doesn't help.
Zack and Miri make a reboot.
I think when we have guests on, I think they're in cases of a tie break, it should go to the guest.
Fair. I think it's fair. The guest
make things simpler.
Yeah, in the sense that the guest vote doubles up. Considering we've now got a tie in the chat and a tie here,
to tie into Kevin Smith and his recent He-Man thing. You have the power, Rich.
Well, reboot it is then.
There you go. Reboot goes through.
Sorry.
It doesn't matter.
See this image in post and go fucking ballistic, and it's me. Right, last of the opening brackets. Oh, this will be fucking piece of piss. Jay and Silent Bob Straight Back versus Cop Out.
We have Jay and Silent Bob from 2001. That is a 20-year-old movie, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my God.
Just in case you didn't feel old enough already, 53% on the tomatometer with an audience score of 75. So again, the audience score is higher there. And here we go. Cop Out from 2010, 19. That's 19 on the old tomatometer with an audience score again higher for some reason of 39. And I don't care. I know we need to finish this fairly soon. Cop Out does not get out of the first round. Cop Out is one of the worst films I've watched ever, maybe. There is no chemistry at all. I fucking hate that movie. Tracy Morgan and Bruce Willis should never share the screen ever again.
I don't understand. Like, Kevin's... Like, love him or loathe him, Kevin Smith's strength is his writing. I don't get why you would hire him to direct a film that he has not written.
Agreed.
Die Hard 4, and Bruce Willis says, "You're fucking funny. You should direct my next film. I've already got the script." And he's like, "Okay, I'll do it because you're Bruce Willis."
And then they had a big falling out, and Bruce Willis is a twat, apparently.
Yeah.
It's like,
I
there
mean,
you go.
Yeah.
I mean, Bruce Willis phoned this one in. He may as well have not been there. They could have got a cardboard cutout of Bruce Willis and just plugged him next to Tracy Morgan. And if we want it sharp and snappy, it's very easy for me because this is a bad
It's a
film.
very, very easy pick. Yeah.
Let's leave our conversation about Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back until we get to Clerks 2 and can discuss both of them at the same time.
Yeah, let's do that. Strike Back.
Strike Back.
Easy.
Okay. If people feel like they've been like gypped in some way, no, you fucking haven't. Check your watch. We've been here for a while.
We can't talk about Cop Out. It's just too bad.
Yeah.
And,
Exactly.
Okay, now we're into the real meat. Meat!
Here we go.
Just shout meat as we zoom in. Jersey Girl Clerks. Clerks, his first film, black and white, very independent, very impressive, very much speaks to a generation. We were talking about this recently on an episode that we're coming up soon, about the idea that it very much represents Gen X and older and most millennials.
Geriatric millennials.
No, I hate that fucking phrase.
that's me. That's 100% me.
Yeah, that's me as well, apparently. Bollocks. But the point is that I don't know if Gen Z or Gen Z or the Zoomers and lower will understand it as much. That sounds like a condescending thing to say because, like, oh God, I'm 23 and I need to get out of this dead-end job. It's like, motherfucker, I'm 25. I can't get into that dead-end job because a computer is doing it, a robot is doing it in self-service, or you 38-year-olds are still doing that goddamn job. Which, again, is part of the joke of the opening of Reboot. So Clerks it really does speak to a lot of people and was very important and still remains very important for certain people. And I think it's earnest. Again, the key word there, earnestly made. It's not very, very clever in how it shot anything. It's very much, the Kevin Smith shot, reverse shot, show the face of the person talking, get the line. And it feels like a bunch of friends. And there's also some weird cues where it's like, hey, where are the candy bars? And it pans up to the sign that says candy bars. I know it's the whole, you get dickhead customers. It's feels sincerely relatable. Like he's saying something he knows and understands. He's not stepping out of his wheelhouse. Yeah, and that is a great comment that needs to go on the screen from Clinically Cynical.
My love for Clerks is a ticking clock. Berserker.
Like the clock is ticking clock. Berserker. Did he say? Thinking fuck. Yeah. What about you guys? I assume Clerks is. I don't know a lot of people who will have a lot of bad things to say about Clerks at this point.
Yeah, and the reviews reflect that 89% on the Tomatometer and also 89% on the audience score. Yes, Matt, that does mean Reboot has a higher audience score than Clerks.
I love the references, but I don't like the films they're from. What the fuck?
I like the reboot, not the original.
I don't want you to think I'm channeling this at you, Rich. I'm not. It's other people.
This is just Matt most of the time anyway.
It's fine.
Unless your audience vote on Rotten Tomatoes is in that score, Rich.
I've never voted on Rotten Tomatoes on anything, so
there you go. You're safe. You're safe. For now. But yeah, Clerks 89%, as I said, on both. And as we talked about earlier, Jersey Girl, half that, 42% and 48%. So clear winner in terms of the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes.
I still like Jersey Girl. I still think it's a good film. I still think it's massively underrated for the movie it is, but it doesn't beat Clerks, does it? Clerks is part of me. It's part of who I am as a person. So much so that when I worked in a crappy convenience little shop and the shutters didn't work, we did hang a sign that said, "I assure you we are open" on that shutter.
Did you make it with shoe polish?
No, I didn't, but I wish I had.
There was a cinema in London that recently did that, and I think it was the Telegraph ran with it, like, oh god, the pandemic's been so bad, they've resorted to this. It's like, no, they're having a marathon of these things, and it's a reference to who's writing this for you, you idiots. Again, I am an independent filmmaker, and if someone was to say, name not necessarily your top 5 most influential creatives, but what started you down a path of filmmaking, I'd have to say, yeah, Clerks, because it says to you, it whispers in your ear, you can do this too. That is
exactly
insane.
like Kevin Smith himself said about Linklater and Slacker that we mentioned earlier. Clerks is now that inspiration for an entire new generation of filmmakers.
Yeah.
And to put this into perspective, Clerks is in the National Film Registry in the Library of Congress in America for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant.
Yeah.
It is considered such a landmark in independent filmmaking that it is been notified by the Library of fucking Congress in America. Like, it's a point in time, a moment in history that is significant to the history of cinema and film.
Yeah.
The other one's Jersey Girl.
Yeah, the conversations in Clerks feel real. They're talking about, like, oh my god, there's a film they're talking about, like, the difference between Jedi and Strikes Back. Which one is, the better movie, the better Star Wars sequel? And like, wow, that's something I'd never expected to see in a film like this. But it's like, well, that's conversations you have in a shop. So yeah, I think if we're happy to get on with the vote, it's Jack first, I believe.
It was me first last time. It's you
I
first.
apologize. It's me then. Clerks.
Easiest one on the night. It's Clerks.
Clerks, 100%.
There we go. Nice and smooth. Dump. Jersey Girls.
Oh,
there we go.
We do have to scroll. Don't worry, viewers and Rich. We do have to scroll through them sometimes.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
This is a bit tricky.
Ooh, interesting.
So we discussed
back to back from 95 and 97, as we said. Yeah,
this is 87%
versus 57%. So,
yeah, a little bit easier for me because I think I'm one of the few Kevin Smith fans who just isn't a fan of Chasing Amy, really. And Mallrats just, again, a bit like Clerks, Mallrats just speaks to me on that level, and will until I die. I think I'll be a 90-year-old man in my nursing home sat watching Mallrats. Still laughing at the same jokes.
Just turns to an old man. That used to be me.
Snooch to the motherfucking no.
And then someone's in, are you ready, Reg? For your I'm gonna go. Bye. There's no one there, Reg. There's no one there.
There's a brilliant quote on, speaking of snooches and booches. There's a brilliant quote on the Rotten Tomatoes. Like, headline is, Mallrats colourfully explains the viewer's universe, even if its snoochie has lost a few of the boochies boasted by its beloved predecessor. Yep, that's the most critic-written sentence I've seen in a while that features both snoochies and boochies.
Cut to Steve Buscemi. Hello, fellow children.
Exactly. How do you do, fellow kids? Yeah, Tim, you're up first for the vote on this one.
I'm going to vote Chasing Amy. I think it's an emotionally richer film.
Mallrats for me because it's not as an emotionally rich film. I like that.
I'm worried where Matt's going to go with this one. I don't want another tie. I'm going to go Mallrats. You're going to go Chasing Amy, aren't you, Matt? And then we're going to have another fucking tie. Oh no. Matt.
Yeah, fuck. I've got to go Chasing Amy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I knew you would.
Shit's sake, yeah. Chat time. I can't. I get I get the arguments both sides. I totally get where you're coming from with Mallrats. But Chasing Amy is trying harder, and that's I have to get from a creative point of view. That's my thing. I have to say, like he had the good sense to take himself out of the movie until right at the end and give one speech. So
I know you really value that in a lot of things because we've talked about this before. That particularly when we talked about Last Jedi, not to go into a huge tangent, just quickly.
Sure.
People trying something different and trying harder and doing something interesting is something you value as a creator, as a filmmaker yourself. Yeah. You've talked about this a lot. I don't value that anywhere near as much as you do. Because if you try something and it's shit, it's still shit. I love
the idea that Jack is like at a sports day for kids, and then one of the kids falls over and is like, well, you tried. You worked really hard. And Jack's like, you shit and you lost. Fuck off.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. We've got a vote for chasing more rats in Little China. That's yep. Nearly got a spit take from Matt there.
Helpful,
Well done,
thank you.
MC. We have actually got a vote for chasing Amy there.
Oh.
Stanley's pre-Marvel cameo was pretty cool. That is correct. Yeah.
Correct. Maybe not a vote.
Yeah, not a vote yet. We have a vote for chasing Amy.
Far,
Chasing Amy's winning. To be fair, this is me like, do I vote with my heart, the film I actually like, or vote with my stomach because I'm very hungry and need to go cook something?
something's roll that's been sitting here for like forever.
People are just trolling us now.
We're just
Small is rat chase on Amy. Like,
right, then we're moving on. Clap, clap.
Yep.
Half point, chasing Amy. Thanks to
it's brutal
Tim
but
A.
well fought.
And Tim pointed out, we mentioned Scott Pilgrim. That is, in fact, him dressed as Todd being headbutted by a Scott Pilgrim cosplayer in his little picture there, if you look down the bottom left. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So, well done on the cosplay there, dude.
Nice.
Right. Maybe the easiest one in the entire fucking thing. But let's talk briefly about 1999's Dogma. As you mentioned, Rich, the one you've seen 45, I think it was 45,000 times. Was the official number?
Yeah, at least. Oh my God, I love this movie. I love this movie so much.
Yeah.
In fact, it is 67% on the Tomatometer score. Again,
That's
audience score is
low.
higher again. Audience is 85%, so a bit more. Yeah.
How the audience score is less than Reboot is beyond me, because
Everything is
Dogma
less than Reboot.
insane.
Every audience score is less.
Because when Dogma came out, there wasn't the culture of let's swamp Rotten Tomatoes and skew the score in favour of the thing we like.
Yeah.
Just to quickly
Skew the view, if you will.
And Catholics also have access to the internet.
Sometimes. I would say, just to draw attention to the chat for a second, I was like, oh God, and then realized it course corrected quite quickly with the 2 votes there, Jack.
We had them all rats, and I was like, oh shit. Agree. Chasing Amy's more. Sorry, go with more rats. Thank God.
So it works out fine.
It's fine.
Okay. So,
and as Kieran correctly says here, the audience is wrong.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kieran.
Dogma, I love full stop as a film, and again, as people know, I'm from a big Irish Catholic family, so I mean my brother is a priest, so
it doesn't get much more Catholic than that, ladies and gentlemen.
No.
Unless you're literally a priest yourself.
I know, I love Dogma. I think I love Dogma because it is the fact that Smith is a Catholic, and it's that sort of self-deprecating, like, I'm trying to work through the stuff in my religion that I don't understand, agree with, or have problems with. And it's a theological discussion with fart jokes. And I'm like, that's how you kind of get through to people. That's how you express things important about your life. You not necessarily just have to make a joke of it. Like, and the fact that he went along to his own film being protested with, made up his own banners saying Kevin Smith should be, he's a terrible man. And interviews say, like, you look a lot like him. No, I don't. Have you seen the film? No, I haven't seen it. I'm just here protesting. Right, yeah. And it's like, it's terrible. He shouldn't be famous. But you look a lot. You distinctly like him. No, I don't. Got short hair. It's like, but yeah, because it's like the whole that rabid reaction, like, oh, it's terrible. It's like, have you watched it? No, I'm not going to watch it. And then you have no right to an opinion. If you watch it and think it's dog shit, then that's fine. You have that right. But I think the things it was saying and doing, and because of who was saying it, if it had come from an outside perspective, it'd been more malicious and more thing. But because it comes from someone who's grown up in it, and it was very important to his parents, it's like, this is someone working through something, and it's got a decent story. And it's Ben Affleck and Matt Damon as angels. It's so stupid. It's funny. And talk about why they like being in an airport, looking at people's faces and things like that, and just the irreverence of the whole thing. It's am I going to say this? It might be peak. Yeah, it's peak Smith, I think.
It's Alan Rickman as the voice of God, because of course he is.
Yeah.
Because of course he's the voice of God.
Yeah.
And like, I still quote this movie on an almost daily basis. There are still things from it that I will like. I'm a motherfucking demon. Like, actually, and there are little tiny little bits in this movie that make me realise that Kevin Smith is like me. And I was a massive Indiana Jones fan as a kid. I wanted to be three things when I grew up: Optimus Prime, Indiana Jones, or a scientist. I've not been any of those three things.
At one point, we have to. That was an actually genuinely funny thing to say. But if you just said those three things and stopped at that point, the Big Bang Theory laughter comes up out of nowhere. Like, some things. But yeah,
because there's a bit where like Silent Bob, his only line in this film is he throws one of the angels off a train and goes, "No ticket," just like Indiana Jones. It's brilliant, and I love it, and I love everything about it. I so much so that me and Dave were really lucky when we first started Unequal Sequel, got invited to the press screening of Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, which and Salma Hayek was there. And Dave nearly cried because Desperado is his favourite movie. And we essentially walked out of the toilets straight into Salma Hayek, which is amazing. And all I can think of in my head is, got a body, $50. I can't say that to her. I can't say that.
I know you didn't write Home Alone. That's yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah. I just love it. And of course, there's someone alive today who has a chromosomal 2 in common with Jesus. Of course there is. That makes so much sense. And of course Alanis Morissette is God. Because if you, at the point where this movie came out, it completely made sense to me that Alanis Morissette was God. And that George Carlin is a crazy priest, trying to reboot the Catholic Church.
Yeah. I'm trying to be down with the kids and bless my clubs. Yeah.
I just love it. I just love everything about it. I like the Yeah.
Watch these two say they hate it with another fucking tie.
No, Dogma was my first Kevin Smith film, and I can remember seeing it when I was 14, noticing it in the video shop, and
you just aged yourself there, Tim, straight away.
I did, and I was it was like for some reason I was like magnetically drawn to it, and I read the back and I was like, I really want to see this, but I know my friends won't like it. And I can remember having to ask my parents to be like, "Can you rent this for me? Because I'm 14 and it's a 15." And watching it and just feeling it like that I had discovered something very special, and that it was talking about stuff on a much different level to a lot of the films that I previously watched, which were just kind of like stuff blowing up. And this one was actually having discussions about faith and stuff, while also there was a rubber poop monster. And this was kind of this got me to go and then watch the other Kevin Smith films. But Dogma will always have a special place in my heart, and it's the Kevin Smith line that I think of most frequently, which is Ben Affleck saying to Matt Damon, "You really are just a simple creature, aren't you?" Which I think about myself whenever I do something stupid. I have that little voice in my head. So
Ben Affleck, condescending,
fucking Ben Affleck.
I regularly have conversations with my wife where we talk about something, and she'll be like, "Oh God, is this going to happen?" And I'll be like, "Worse, Wisconsin." The fact that the angels have to sit outside the gates for all time once the world ends. I love it.
Yeah, it has a less it's a less charming Good Omens in that regard. In that Good Omens is very, very obviously Pratchett and Gaiman, and it just obviously chimes with so many things so well. And it's this is the dumb American version, and that's fine. With these two, unlikely friends, but who's the first on the
I think it's me at this point.
Yep.
So Dogma by a country mile.
Oh yeah, Dogma, absolutely.
Yeah, Dogma, 100%.
Reboot it is.
93% reboot.
And finally, Clerks 2 and chasing him. Clerks 2 and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Clerks 2 from 2006 is a 63% versus an 84% on the audience score. Again, seeing a theme here with the Kevin Smith movies. And round to Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back from 2001, as I mentioned earlier, 53% and 75%, and Toothless the Cat agrees there.
I'm gonna I'll be brief because I know time is getting ridiculous. Clerks 2, I really enjoyed when I saw it in the cinema. I liked the reuniting everyone. I liked the jokes escalated so much. They were really ridiculous and hilariously offensive at times, and so absurd. And the outrage of the curse of fandom versus fandom with the Star Wars and the Lord of the Rings fans. And I thought, like, we were supposed to move on. We were supposed to be doing this. We studied criminology. What the fuck are we studying to be Batman? That kind of thing. And that you'd moved out of the quick stop to go into this job. You'd made such a sideways move. Life was supposed to deal you a different hand, but that kind of stuff. I liked a lot of that. It still had the Zach and Miri. Dude, there's this girl who's really into you. You should be like, it's Rosario fucking Dawson. Are you out of your mind? How all these women gravitating to these losery douchebags? But that gives us all hope.
Because it's written by a losery douchebag. Come on.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
All of us losery douchebags, I think we're beautiful on the inside, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, however, was the first legally 18 I saw in the cinema. Or the 18 I saw legally in the cinema. I loved it. I still love it. I think as a celebration of all the stuff that came before, an endgame style, a final full stop on the whole thing. I think this is fucking great. I, to this day, I was quoting this without realizing. I use the insult clown shoes quite a lot. Like, you fucking clown shoes. And so you clown shoe. Forgetting that is something that is said of Jay and Silent Bob in the movie Poop Shoot review, that put them in their stupid fucking asses. They are clown shoes. I'm like, oh God, I've been quoting this whole time, haven't I? Oh well, fuck it, clown shoes it is. I think it's so stupid, so irreverent. The Muse is on great form in this one as well. Oh, who was, as crazy as we will let it cry, damn yous! And monkey, we won't spank the monkey will spank us. It's so dumb. Will Ferrell, we forget Will Ferrell's in this fucking movie.
Will Ferrell is in this movie. Jesus.
Yeah, there's so many cameos. I think it's hilarious at times. So this is a tricky one.
I think go to the vote. I think
go straight to it.
Straight to the vote.
Head to the vote.
Rich,
you're up first.
You're the first one.
Why is it the really hard ones I have to go first? Jesus. Couldn't have gone first on blooming Cop Out, could I? Okay. Strike Back.
Okay.
Yeah, Strike Back. Okay, but it is. I've said it now.
You've said it, mate. You said it now. It's done. Yeah. I agree. Strike Back for me as well.
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yeah, I'm going to make it unanimous. I don't actually like Clerks 2 that much. And I think it's like, to me, it's interesting these two have come up against each other because one is, hey, I'm going to put, this is me putting, I'm finished with this phase of my life. And Clerks 2 is the depressing backslide into it. And I don't think, I don't think it's that great. Whereas Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is so stupid and so silly, but that's all it's trying to be. And it has that fucking great Good Will Hunting 2 scene that I will forever love.
Applesauce, bitch.
Yeah, that's it.
So yeah, Strike Back from me as well. Unanimous.
Yeah, I forgot about the applesauce stuff. That wins it for me, hands down. There's a cop out there trying to sneak his way in. That's it. And I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. This is the 4 I expected. We took so much competition. This is the 4 I expected. Yeah. This is exactly how I expect to go down. Maybe Clerks 2 squeaking through, but I think this is going to be nice and quick. Who's up voting first?
Me.
Yeah.
It's Clerks.
Clerks.
Tim.
I still hold up Chasing Amy as a problematic fave, but yeah, Clerks is better.
Yeah, Clerks for me.
Clerks unanimously. Semi-final that lasted 5
Jersey Girl
seconds.
again.
Hey, Jersey Girls in the final.
Yay.
Here we go.
You do really give that emotional roller coaster with this scrolling system. don't you? You might have to scroll past reboot in the final here, Matt, and it will just get that like
Gets lost.
twinge. Yeah,
It's broken. Yeah.
Dogma, as we said, 67%, 85% versus Strike Back's 53 and 75%. So similar scores, a little bit higher for Dogma. Yeah, Matt, you first.
These could be my two favorite Smith films. In terms of just rewatchability, but because I think this Strike Back has all that Mallrats energy, but well honed. But it's Dogma every day of the week.
Yeah, Dogma.
Oh yeah, it's Dogma. I'm sorry.
Rich was nodding along there.
Yeah, all the good stuff we said about Strike Back is.
And here we are at the end. Sorry, just to clarify.
Didn't even get me a vote there, Matt.
Yeah, did you go Dogma?
I know. I'd go reboot. Thank you very much.
Would you really go reboot?
No. No.
I don't know you well enough to know if it's a joke or not.
Some straight up dropkick.
Dogma all day, every day.
Right. So I'm not gonna lie. From the very first moment we started this, I think from where the moment you suggested to us that it was.
There was a comment a while ago.
Scrolling.
Oh, right.
Well, frantically scrolling back. Carry on, Matt.
No, even before that, when Rich suggested this, I thought to myself, it's going to be Clerks versus Dogma for us, I think, because that's my answer to the end of it. I don't know how this. I don't know how it's going to align. I don't know how it's going to end up on the brackets, but that's how I feel it's going to end. And look where we fucking are.
Yeah, I feel like the only way that
we could have saved everyone so much time.
2 hours.
The only way it wouldn't have
a
ended
minute.
up that way is if it had been Clerks and Dogma on the same side of the bracket.
That's the only way.
Absolutely, yeah.
The Alien Blade Runner moment, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 hours almost to the minute at 6:38 p.m. Tim A said, "All right, calling my shot now. Dogma v Clerks in the final."
Yeah.
Well estimated, Tim.
Tim up first,
Yes.
which means I might not even be involved in this,
Oh, this is tricky.
or I have to be the tiebreaker. Oh.
I was like, I knew it would come to this,
Matt was like, "Yeah, oh shit."
but I also wasn't sure how I'd feel about it. But I think we rag on Kevin Smith's filmmaking a lot because he is not a creative filmmaker. He is much better as a writer than he is as a director. But I think Dogma is him pushing himself a little bit. It's him doing action and stuff that he'd never done before in certain scenes. I think both of these are him trying to actually say something about a topic, which a lot of his later films don't feel like that. But I think Dogma, he is tackling bigger, braver topics. And I do actually genuinely think that it's got interesting conversations, like the conversation that Bethany and Rufus have about Jesus is really interesting and good. I think they're probably equally quotable in terms of their dialogue.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Dogma, first love, true love.
I think this choice is easier for me than maybe lots of people, because I totally understand people love Clerks, but Clerks is probably not my second favorite Kevin Smith movie. So this is quite an easy choice for me. But I think all the things you just said about Kevin Smith as a filmmaker is probably why I like him so much, because I've always been drawn to writers a bit more than I have directors. I guess it's always about the words and it is about the visuals for me. I don't know why. I'm the same with music. I always like the lyrics more than anything else. And it's just words that make sense to me. And it's Dogma. I just love Dogma. I just absolutely love it. And so that, it can't ever be anything else.
I agree with Rich. I like Dogma a lot more than I like Clerks, to be honest. So it's a pretty easy pick for me for Dogma.
Just to mirror everybody said, moot point, but I'll do it. Jersey Girl.
Oh God, are you going to go past? Reboot.
Yeah, reboot. No, just to mirror everybody said, I think the key summary from my point of view, just to say echo everything, is that Clerks is Smith talking about things he likes. Dogma is talking about him as a person. Things that are core to his being that he struggles with. I mean, yeah, he struggles with working in a shop because it's what he was when he was a young kid, and he remembers that stuff. It's like, yeah, that's cool. That's relatable. Dogma is him saying, this is something I can't shake because it's something that's part of me, even if I don't want it to be. I can't get out of it because it's my family, it's me, it's important. And the same goes for filmmaking. And visually, I think he's trying something as there. But yeah, makes sense.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Dogma is our Kevin Smith winner. Rich, are you happy? Are you?
Oh yeah, very happy.
Okay.
Oh, really
like
happy.
I said, I was worried you and Matt were going to get into a fist fight over something, but actually,
not at all. I mean, we might about, as a lad from Gloucester, we might have a chat about rugby later, but like
we should.
But no, not at all. No, I think it's exactly how I thought it would go, essentially, and I'm very happy with the winner. I think Dogma is the right choice. And it's been really great to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
Nice having you on. Nice good live chat. And it sounds weird to say this. Always worried you're going to get this sort of situation where either like we go into your show, you come onto our stream or whatever, and it's like, oh, is it going to feel weird? Are the audience going to think, oh, who's the weird oddball? It's like, no, we all fit, we all gel, everything's nice. It feels very normal. This is good.
I'm fine being the weird oddball. It's okay.
we have enough of those in our podcast.
That's very true. If you lovely folks out there watching this, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching it on demand on our YouTube channel, you can go follow Rich and Dave. They're a fantastic podcast. They are Unequal Sequel on Twitter. You can also find them anchor.fm/unequal sequel. You can also find them on all the usual podcast things, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, all that kind of stuff in a similar sense. Wherever you can find Sequelisers, you can also find Unequal Sequel. It's nice and easy. If you'd like to support us, we are patreon.com/Sequelisers. And of course, you can go to sequelisers.com and find all of our Discord and our shop and all that kind of stuff. All of the details for each of us and the show as a whole. You can find all the different options for the podcast services and YouTube channel links and all that kind of stuff at sequelisers.com as well. And yeah, to reiterate what Matt said, thanks for coming on, Rich. This has been awesome. It's been really cool to have you on.
It's been absolutely
Thank you for having me. It's been amazing. It's my first time as an actual guest on a podcast instead of
there we go.
Just being the sidekick, which I think is what I am on Unequal Sequel. But can't wait to have you on, Jack, and make sure we've had all three of you on the show then.
Thank you, man. Yeah, and to sign things off, there's no higher compliment from General Pandemonium here. I'll be honest, I kind of forgot Rich wasn't a sequelizer. That's how well you fit in with our vibe. There you go. Honorary sequelizer for sure.
Brilliant.
Well,
I'll come back.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, everyone, for joining us live. Thank you if you're watching this later on YouTube. Thank you very much as well. Please do leave some comments in there as well. All the usual like, share, subscribe, all that YouTube bollocks that people say at the end of YouTube videos. I'm not a YouTuber, you can tell. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We'll be back next month with another guest and another director. See you then.
Bye.